that to maybe 200% or something. And I think that is an area where negotiation it would be more fruitful. But I have zero confidence in this administration caring about the well-being of the American people. I
gotta stand on business. At least we been asking for the Democrats to do is to pick a role. We cannot now be lied.
With the different systems, you have NGOs, you have community groups like Catholic Charities. You know, St. Louis, you got like a Catholic Charities, you got Mosaic, you got a whole bunch of like other community-based groups that offer immigrant assistance and refugee assistance and asylum assistance, and you also have like government and state entities that offer that too. So your lawyer,
they're outside of the bar talking, and she looks up in the sky, and she says, I think her friend says, "What are you looking at?" And she says, "Why do you think all the planes are flying like that?" And
the idea is that when the world seems unstable and when places are unclear or threatened, that undermines meaning. He uses the words wisdom famine. The word culture is a wisdom famine.
And I can tell you that that's very deep in Eitz Chaim. It's not, that's very, this, what's it called? I think this 50-something sections to Eitz Chaim, if I remember offhand. So it's very.
I give to you the seeker of serenity, the protector of Italian virginity, the enforcer of our Lord God, the one, the only.
Reverend Scott. Reverend.
Uncle Steve.
It's been a heck of a show. How many souls have been in so far?
525 souls have come.
Amazing. I love that.
It's remarkable.
And right now we have over 40 souls on the ship right now. So I'm getting out of the captain's chair. You are the XO. Go ahead and slide on in and keep it straight and true.
I need to say something before you leave and go on your break.
Yes, sir.
I moved horrible down to the audience because he put a very horrible thing in the chat about Cora, and that revokes his right to speak as far as I'm concerned.
I have no problem with that. Just don't kick him from the room until you check with me first, and we will tell you horrible if you keep putting derogatory things. We don't tolerate disrespect. You will be kept from the room. We have no problem with talking about issues. You can say that the issues are good or bad, but when you insult, it's going to get you kicked from the room. JCC, thank you for taking care of the heavy lift.
Excellent, JCC. Way to go. Thank you for keeping the decorum up to the standard we expect here at Ask the Atheist. So before we go to the new speakers, I'm going to just play a quick public service announcement from my governor, Josh Shapiro. J.D. Vance is a total phony. And let me explain why. J.D. Vance rose to some prominence by writing a book about growing up in Appalachia, where there's a whole lot of people who get snapped. He made millions of dollars on the backs of telling their stories. And then he turned his damn back on those very people who he likes to write about and claim as his own.
It's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of Democrat government shutdown, which what we like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government, of course, then we can fund SNAP. We can also do a lot of other good things for the American people. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation.
Yes, friends, there you heard a little bit from the vice president and from my governor, the great Josh Shapiro. What a wonderful governor and just a great guy, in my opinion. Proud to have him leading my state. Let's go to the great one. L. Normo, always great to see a great one. What do you want to talk about with your fresh five?
Well, I'm almost done with my coffee, Reverend Scott. So I don't know if I'm prepared to. I wish I could show you what it looks like. It's a work of art. I'm not going to kid you. First, I heat some milk in the microwave with a little sugar in it. And then I use a foamer, like a spinner, to spin it up so it creates a foam. And then I drip 3 scoops worth of coffee, or I drip hot water through 3 scoops worth of coffee, a mixture of different coffees, and some cardamom. It is an incredible work of art. I'm going to drink some of it. I will say, I'd be interested to know how you feel that your governor is governing, that Shapiro is governing. So I don't know if you're willing to have a convo about these things. I haven't heard much from him. He was a bit of a star when he was a potential vice presidential candidate. And of course, many feel that had Kamala Harris selected him as a running mate, let's just say that the likelihood that you would have won Pennsylvania with that formula, with that combo, was greater. Do you think Harris would have won Pennsylvania if she'd won with Josh Shapiro?
Maybe. I mean, his approval rating right now is at 60% in the state, which is pretty good. In a state with a lot of Republicans. And so I think he's doing a good job. I think could he have? Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe it would have delivered Pennsylvania. I mean, I don't know that it would have delivered. You know, some people think that Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, states like these fall together. I don't know. It's a really good question. I do think it was why. I think for his I think he's a potential. He maybe could be our first Jewish president. I think it was very smart for him to stay off that ticket because I think he would have been damaged goods. Even if they won Pennsylvania, maybe you still lose the election. And I think it's great that he stayed in Pennsylvania as governor. He is, I think, presidential timber. And I think because he statewide in Pennsylvania continues to have a good approval rating. This is what I think where Newsom is not a strong candidate. I don't think it's as good of a qualifier to be somebody that won statewide in California because you don't have to get Republican votes the same way you do to win in Michigan or Pennsylvania. So those are my thoughts.
And my very quick thought, just my opinion, the American public will bring a woman to be president or vice president before a Jew, but that's just my very quick thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think some see her reluctance to pick the more popular candidate. I think Josh Shapiro in a swing state as anti-Semitism for sure. So that backfired on him. Some people see it that way. I'm not saying that I do. By the way, I'm sure our very good friend Zohran Mamdani, I'm sure he has presidential aspirations.
I just cannot imagine Mamdani being unless the country really changes. And that's not to say that. I said this. I was on a podcast with Gary Baumgarten yesterday. He does a podcast with a Substack, and I was saying that. Look, I think somebody with that democratic socialist energy like Bernie Sanders could be good for the left, but not as the mayor of New York. I mean, I'm not convinced that this guy just has the basic chops to run a city that complex. If you put a guy like that in the Senate, they can be a movement builder, they can bring energy to the party and to the left without having the sort of responsibility of governing a massive, complex reality like New York. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders. Right? I think Bernie Sanders has been good for the country, moved the Overton window, particularly on healthcare. Bernie's not an accomplished senator. He's ever sponsored a piece of legislation. But, he's an effective communicator and movement guy, right? So he doesn't have to be super effective to move the political discourse. That's not the same thing as New York, Norman. I would be praying for you and my friends up there that the city does not fall apart.
So it's already started. I could tell last night, well, actually, I could tell on Tuesday night, because he immediately transformed. Did come down, the mask fell. He got really angry, and he was threatening the president, saying that if you want to come for any of us, you have to come through all of us. And he was yelling at it in a provocative way. It's a very weird thing to do when you win. Usually when you win, you take that one moment and you say, oh, it's so great. He'll say, I'm going to be the mayor of all the people, whether or not you voted for me. That's just something you say. He wasn't saying that. He was saying that he was inviting Donald Trump to a street fight already.
What your schoolmate David Axelrod said on a podcast was that he also didn't realize. I mean, he said, when they have the DNC speakers, they have speech coaches that work with them because they tend to want to shout because the room is so big, and the coaches have to tell them, you're talking to the TV audience, right? You don't shout at this big audience in this big hall. Your audience is the TV. You're amplified. Don't project. Don't overmodulate. And nobody coached him that way. He was shouting. And just again, I agree with you that it was not a conciliatory tone, and the shouting made it worse.
Yeah, he seemed a little unhinged. I'll tell you, last night already, I saw the beginnings of ICE protests, and not in a kind of spiritual way. There've been immigration protests outside the building where they adjudicate immigration cases in Lower Manhattan. There've been religious people like you, Scott. Christians, I'm pretty sure, like Quakers or something, one of those kind of, we can talk about what these guys are. They're sort of social justice OGs, Quakers. It's an interesting topic, and you probably know something about it. So they quietly, they hold hands and they walk around the block. They've been doing it for decades. But the recent ICE protests seem to include Antifa folks all dressed in black and masked up, and they get really pushy and violent with the cops, and they throw things. And I've already seen some very elaborate graffiti over the bus shelters, where the whole bus shelter has been painted over in black with an elaborate mark, what do you call it, magic marker, or maybe spray can painting, stop ICE. But the whole thing, it's been rebranded, the entire bus shelter. That took hours to do. And this person had no fear that there would be a consequence for this graffiti. We have had graffiti in New York contained since Giuliani, because if it's everywhere, it gives the feeling of a broken, out of control, chaotic city. If it's only in certain areas like Bushwick, it's come to be sort of the graffiti neighborhood where you go and make beautiful art on the buildings. That's kind of great. All the building owners agree to it. But I already got a sniff of that lawlessness. I think it's going to get really dangerous in New York, because he's not a pro-cop guy, and the cops don't want to be bothered by him. And I don't think Tish will last until summer. When I say Tish, I'm talking about a well-regarded leader
Jessica Tisch, who ironically comes from a wealthy family, the Tisch family. They endow schools and school buildings, and they're a wealthy New York Jewish family. But she decided she wanted to really work for a living. She didn't go into hedge funds. She didn't start her own little fashion company or something. No, I believe she was sanitation commissioner before she did this. She wants to know how the city works, and she wants to be a part of government. That's sort of the old school patrician approach. If you're rich, you have a responsibility to serve. That's definitely where she's coming from. So we'll see if an effective leader like Jessica Tisch will stay on board under a so far wild card. The Democratic Socialist Zahran Mamdani. We had a Democratic Socialist mayor before. Many people don't know. You know who it was?
Oh, yeah, because Mamdani quoted him. I forget what his name, but he didn't quote him in his...
No, that's not who. The previous Democratic Socialist mayor was none other than David
Dinkins, right.
And I used to party with him.
Reverend Scott, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say I love hearing Norm speak, but we have other people on stage, and I think want to speak to you instead of me. So it's up to you, Reverend.
Norm, thank you very much, my friend. I'm going to move on. Thank you for my prayers are with you and the folks in your fair city.
Hey, Scott, I want to get in the queue when you at some point as well.
Why you want to respond to Norm?
It's I think it is complicated. I think that these guys run on certain issues. I think Mamdani is going to come. I'm actually meeting with me this week. It should be interesting. I think that he's going to come into office and realize that the city in and of itself is set up so that no one person rules too much power. It's like the city council actually controls and approves most, if not all, of the city's budget. And there are very powerful unions in the city, not only the police union, but the teachers union. He did win, and he didn't seem to have to court these unions. I actually think Tisch will stay because I think Tisch's relationship with the rank and file cops seems to be going very well. I don't think that New York City, being the financial capital of the world, is going to be in dire straits because I don't think Mamdani can do as much as people think Mamdani can do as mayor.
Thank you, Darryl. Lots of voices from New York. Great here, our New Yorker friends. I'm going to go on to some of the new speakers. I want to go to candidate for Congress, John Kitover. John, candidate, how are things on the election trail? Would you like a fresh five?
Sure, thanks, Scott. Things are going good. We had over 1,650 signatures on our petition we submitted last Monday. I submitted with my mom. She flew in Albuquerque. We drove to Springfield, dropped off the petitions, and then we went to the Lincoln's tombstone in Springfield, the giant obelisk where he lays in rest with his family members. I guess my question is, since this is the atheism house, I'm just wondering, do atheists have priorities of communication? Because, God, in my opinion, deals with intelligence. You might say supreme intelligence. And so my question is, a lot of Clubhouse users who claim that they are atheists, I'm just wondering, is there a priority of intelligent communication in your lives?
I would like to answer that.
Absolutely.
And I can't speak for all atheists, but I can speak for myself being an atheist for over 20 years. My priority in communication is honesty. All of my rooms for the past 4 years have been on replay, and you will see that my feelings, thoughts, opinions, and facts going back 4 years are honest. Unlike you, unfortunately, when you have been on the show and when you have communicated with me before, you have said one thing and then weeks, months, if not years later, you have said another. Now, of course, you've commented on that before that you were joking or not serious. But then again, I don't think you're an atheist. I don't know. You can clarify that. But the answer to your question, for me and only me, I am honest and sincere, unlike you. Back to you, Reverend.
Thank you for that, Uncle Stephen. Do any other atheist moderators want to comment about your communication priorities, or are you guys good?
I'd like to, when someone says like God is the supreme intelligence, then why does the book say he created the earth and then the sun? That doesn't sound very intelligent.
Maybe it's just not organized. He's intelligent but not organized, disorganized. And as George Carlin reminded us, very bad with money. He always needs money. He just loves you and has a plan for your life, but just can't manage money.
Well, I want to reject what Steve said. I think I'm very honest. I did, that's Steve's opinion about me. I would just say that my question dealt with intelligence. I think honesty and transparency are intelligence, so I agree with Steve in that respect. But I do not agree with his disparaging remarks about my honesty. I, don't appreciate that, Steve. And if you don't have anything nice to say about people, just don't say it. Didn't your mother ever teach you that?
Well, what my mother and father did teach me is that if you're bold enough to answer the question, you ask the question, you should be ready to hear the answer. And I can produce multiple recordings of you saying one thing and then saying something completely the opposite. So when you tell me not to say anything disparaging, I'm speaking factually correct.
Uncle Steve, like the young people say, you have receipts, you're saying.
Yes, I have receipts. Yes, I do.
Facts, not opinions. Everything always a fact, never an opinion. Got it?
No, I give it. I have my opinions, but the difference between me, you, and other people is that when I have an opinion, I say, this is my opinion, or this is my crystal ball. When I say something is a fact, it's a fact. And I have receipts where you say one thing, and then the very next day, the very next week, or the very next month, you comment on the same topic and say something different. I'm speaking factually. I have not given my opinion, John, candidate, or whatever the hell your name is. I have not given my opinion today whether or not I like you, dislike you, respect you, don't respect you. I have given factually correct information, and I have the receipts to back up my fact.
Well, thank you very little.
All right, John, thank you for sharing. Good luck on the campaign trail. I want to go to my main man, another Californian, David G. David G., welcome to the stage. Would you like a fresh five to tell us what's on your mind?
I kind of caught the room after Reverend Norman was speaking about his new great mayor that's going to lead the city to greatness. Go north. I'm kidding. No, I think it's interesting optics having a guy like Mandami lead the city. We have our issues with our own mayor here, Karen Bass, who was, I believe, our first African-American female mayor of this great city. I recall it was Mayor Tom Bradley, who was the first black mayor, I think, to run the city. The great international airport, Tom Bradley International, is named after him. But I think Mandami what's interesting about Mandami, Scott, and others in the room, is that he got elected with a lot of money against him, and a lot of flame throwing and a lot of criticism of his positions with regard to Israel. I don't know so much the Jewish community. He was very good about framing it. I'm against the Israeli government, not my Jewish constituency. He was very good at sort of dividing that line there. Whether or not the lines are blurred in his own mind with regard to that or not remains to be seen. I believe it was about 30% of New York's Jewish electorate voted for him versus, I believe, with 70, which didn't want him. So that might be a sea change in terms of giving this guy a shot. I think the young people in New York, those that want the free stuff or want the policies to be more friendly to their pocketbook, I think that is where the governing is really going to become interesting. Because in Los Angeles, we see rent control playing out with disastrous results, squatters, people that don't want to pay their rent, leveraging, the inability to evict. So I'm afraid that if New York goes in that direction, maybe it already has, maybe it's already there. I don't have evidences of that because I don't live there. But I'm saying that New York's a real estate city, much like LA is. Pricey real estate, vibrant economy, great universities, culture, all the things that people want to pay to be there for. You can't have people that just don't want to pay their rent or not face increases. Landlords are going to leave. So I think that there is an economic potential blowback with that. But at the same time, I think the optics of all these billionaires that run the show, we're talking about this Gilded Age again with Elon Musk cementing a $1 trillion pay package. You got Trump tearing down the West Wing to build this ballroom. I mean, there's a lot of things that are the optics. Cutting SNAP benefits while these things are taking place. I think is why a guy like Mandami won. And I think there's going to be a groundswell of potential Mandamis who are going to see this as their moment to go after the 1%. So, with regard to Gavin Newsom, I wanted to bring that up a little bit. I think his Proposition 50, him taking that to the ballot, was a very ballsy move. I think that the fact that the people voted for it is a direct attack on Trump.
Do you feel comfortable saying whether you voted for it or not?
Yeah, right.
You don't have to. Yeah, just curious.
Thanks for asking, but as I've said in other rooms, I don't want the optics of having to jigger, political lines, with regard to, we have too many minorities in this district. Let's rework the lines so that we get our candidate who we know will be voted for by these constituencies. I think that's a very ominous trend. Instead of campaigning on ideas and winning with ideas and great candidates, we're relying on this sort of stuff to maintain power. And I think that's not a good look for our democracy. I feel bad for the Republicans in the state. They're going to be checkmated even further with regard to getting their ideas out. Even though Trump did have a pretty sizable response here in California, and that can be laid at the feet of the bad policies that have produced crime and homelessness. We elected a more conservative DA, and we threw out the last guy, who was many have argued a Soros acolyte, but he had these disastrous, no bail policies, misdemeanors. You can rob up to $1,000 and be a misdemeanor. People could willy-nilly go in and out of our stores and steal. So Angelinos didn't like that. We hated that. That was bad. That was a bad look. So I don't know what your thoughts are, Scott and Steve, on that, and others in the room. But I'll land there. I've said quite a bit. But I think Gavin Newsom, if he can continue to check Trump and show a sort of a muscular Democratic face versus this tepid, I mean, I would say Pelosi was weak, but she obviously, she held the House pretty well there for those years. But I think we need a guy who's good looking, who's got the optics. He's going to have to answer to his record, and I'm hoping Joe Rogan brings him on the show because I think that would definitely help clear the air with that base there. So, and I think the Republicans also have another problem with this fracturing of the bro vote, right? The bro vote with Tucker Carlson giving this guy Fuentes a platform to air out his issues with the state of Israel and all of that. I think that's something that the Republicans are going to have to try to figure out, because I think that's going to come back to haunt them in a big way.
You know, Tucker has gone.
I was going to say, Reverend, why don't you comment and then I'll take over.
And David, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You know, stage. It's great to see you as always, my friend. You know, it's so weird because Tucker used to be like the bow tie country club Republican, and now he's becoming something like the world's oldest groyper. It's very, very strange. I will say this, Uncle Steve. I think Mamdani, success leaves clues, as Gavin Newsom said, right? And so I think Democrats need to learn from Mamdani. The management of his social media and just dominating vertical video, amazing. The other thing, that guy stayed on message, much like Bernie Sanders, right? I mean, you could not get Mamdani off message. Guy had like 4 policy ideas. That was it. And he told, free buses, rent freezes, free child care, free grocery stores. And he just
$30 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah, and he just, you could not knock that guy off message. Now, I mean, I think his issues with Israel and his past associations, like these are problematic, but and I, personally, I mean, I'm willing to talk to anybody in another forum about my views on that stuff, but which I think most people have a sense of. But I do think, again, we need the Democratic Party doesn't need. People are saying we need more moderates, more progressivism, we need more of all of it, because we need to compete across the whole country. And so I think the Democratic Socialist Progressive Voice wing of the party is valuable. It's not going to win everywhere. It might not win in Omaha or Wichita or something, but I think affordability is the issue right now in the country. People feel it. So I think Mamdani addressed that. And I think we need to learn from that.
That's okay. Steve, can I comment on this very quickly?
Yeah, you can. Just a moment. Housekeeping issue. Mods, if you will invite PA Uma up, I promised her that we bring her back up, give her a last shot before the end of the show, which is ending in 28 minutes. Uma, please, please, please stay on mute until we call on you, and you will get a last opportunity for a closing thought. Let me comment briefly on what was discussed, and then we'll go to Daryl. We'll give Daryl a fresh 5. I voted no on Proposition 50. I was taught a long time ago by my mom and dad that 2 wrongs don't make a right. When was the last time California ever had a proposition or a state legislation that was dependent on what another state did? None that I can recall. Had Texas not done, someone's got a hot mic, don't know who it is. I can't remember a single time, and I'll tell you this, if Texas had not done what they did with the redistricting and the gerrymandering, California would not done what we had did. I voted no. And it, of course, won overwhelmingly, almost 2 to 1. I want to say like 62% to 37%. And unfortunately, it's going to affect one of my most respected and very valued House of Representatives. I forgot his name. He's in District number 3. I've said his name before. I'll bring it up again before the end of the show. But he is one of those 5 districts that are going to be gerrymandered. And he's been in the state legislature. He's been in government for 10 years. He was a teacher. He's an attorney. He went to Harvard undergraduate. He went to Yale Law School. He was a state assemblyman, state senator for 6 years. And then he's doing his 2nd term right now in the House of Representatives, District number 3. And because of this districting, he very possibly may be gerrymandered. Kevin Kiley, that's it. For those of you that are not familiar with Kevin Kiley, he's young, he's 40 years old, he's a Republican. I do not consider him MAGA. I consider him a reasonable Republican. I respect him very much. I like what he's about. I like the way he votes. and I'm very sorry that there's a good chance he's going to be gerrymandered out. As far as the governorship of California, a lot of people have said that were talked about running, they're not going to run. And right now, the leader, with I think literally 11 or 12%, is a sheriff, the sheriff of either Riverside or San Bernardino. He's in the lead with 11%. California is an interesting place, and I'll land it here because although we're extremely blue, we vote Democratic. The Democrats do not have a 51% majority. Last that I checked, and it could have changed, the Democrats California are between 45 and 50%. The Republican 25%. But it's the independents like me that are not affiliated with the Republican or the Democratic Party. We actually outnumber the Republicans. The independents are like 25 to 30%. So I just wanted to say that, Daryl, you can have a first five, and then after Daryl, we'll go to Alfonso and then Uma. Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on something Dave said, and Dave made the comment about the young people wanting everything free in the city, and I'd like to push back by saying that that's not inherently what the issue is. The issue is since 9/11, the city has become very expensive. So I actually belong to the J.P. Morgan Alumni Association. What we do, like once a quarter, we talk to like some of the young bankers that are coming in and fresh out of school, and some of these guys, they're making like low six figures, and they still have roommates. When I got started, you could have an income and you can go get yourself an apartment. Some of these guys are, some of these young men and women are living in apartments with 2 to 3 other roommates because the rent's $7,000 a month. And what I'm afraid of happening to the city is that if the city becomes so priced out in certain areas, New York will lose a lot of talent because people just don't want to come here because you're not making enough money to actually have a life here. They did a thing in 2005 in New York. A $20 bill would get you like something like 10 cheeseburgers from McDonald's, right? And this is probably a crappy example, but a $20 bill will get you 3 cheeseburgers now. So I just push back on the idea that young people want everything for free.
I wasn't really saying that here. I was being hyperbolic with that comment.
Yeah, hey, Dave, so no, it's okay, go on mute, hang on, we'll give you a chance for a closing thought before the show ends, I promise, but
I just want to clarify.
No problem, take notes on a post-it scrap sheet paper, we'll give you a couple of minutes to finish up, go ahead.
Yeah, and Dave, I listen to you in Gary's room, I think you're a great guy, I just wanted the other folks in the room to kind of have a more nuanced idea for those who don't live in New York.
Things are affordable for people that are educated and
Dave, please, if you could be so kind, stay on mute. I promise, I guarantee it, we will come back to you before the end of the show. Just take a couple of notes and you can have a few minutes to respond. Thank you.
Yeah, and so it's the city has become very expensive, which is why so many people move to the outer boroughs and have to commute in. If you're working in Lower Manhattan, have to commute in an hour or 40 minutes every day. And they're talking about raising the fares on the trains again. I think it's almost $4 now for one ride. It's the city is the people who live, work, and help the city run. These are the people that go out to restaurants and help the restaurant industry. These are the people that go to museums and buy tickets and all these other things. The very fact that we're talking now about building casinos in the boroughs as opposed to just Long Island tells you that the city is trying to figure out ways to make money. And it's going to be a little interesting the next couple weeks.
However, Daryl, before I move on to our next speaker, living in the city being too expensive, this is nothing new. This has been going on for decades, hasn't it?
But like I was saying before, it used to be if you were making about $75,000 a year, you could go get an apartment. Is it going to be the best apartment? No, but you're not making.
Well, guess what? Inflation, goods, costs, and services have gone up. So now, instead of 75, now it's a minimum of 150.
It's 150.
It's always been too expensive to live in the city. This is nothing new.
But it's 150, and you have to get 3 more roommates, and you're all making 150 because your rent's 7,000. You know.
I hear you loud and clear. If you're in the audience and you want to contribute, come up now, because after 5 minutes, it's going to become impossible. Let's go to Uma. Uma, welcome back. Do you have any closing thoughts you would like to share with the group?
Closing thought is always important. Okay, for me, it's already 41. It's past midnight, nighttime from Thailand.
Yes.
So, if you have one last wish for us all, Uncle Steve, what would that be? Thank you.
All right, and appreciate that. We're going to give you a first-class escort to the VIP. If I have one last wish for everybody that's within the sound of my voice, it's that as you travel these clubhouse streets, when you speak and when you listen to other people, do your best to distinguish fact from opinion. You heard me speak earlier to the candidate, how I was saying, he specifically asked, when it comes to atheists, what do you value most in your communications? I specifically said I only speak for myself, but I value that I am sincere, consistent, and speak the truth. What is the truth? Well, when I give my opinion, it is not only my opinion, but is a consistent opinion, and I identify it as such. When I identify it as a fact, that means it should not be disputed. Otherwise, it's not a fact. That being said, let's say hello to Leroy. Leroy, good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. You have a fresh 5. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thank you. I am truly grateful that I moved to New York City in 1977. And from 1977 to 2004, a young boy comes out of the South, poor with nothing. I was able to afford, I had like how many apartments? Oh my God. I moved from the Bronx over Yankee Stadium, and then I moved from there over to Parkside Avenue, not far from the Brooklyn Museum and all that. And then I moved to Clinton Hill, Fort Greene, and because it was so affordable for me to move around like that, I ended up getting a job working at a nursing home, Beth Abraham Hospital on Arlington Avenue. And that stabilized me enough to have a family, and then eventually find myself a career as an individual artist. And New York City was so amazing. You could go to Greenwich Village and so on and so forth and live well. However, I was able to buy a brownstone for about $300,000 on DeKalb Avenue across from Fort Greene Park.
What year approximately? What year?
96.
And if you feel comfortable, what is that $300,000 brownstone worth now? Almost, I guess.
$10 million.
Is that 30 years later? 96. Oh, so that's almost 30 years later, from 300,000 to 10 million. Please continue.
10 million. The taxes I wouldn't have been able to afford it, but however, I think my blessing in my life would have probably found a way. The point I'm making is that when we was in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, near Pratt Institute and Brooklyn Academy of Music, the art community was strong there. The landlord used to work with the artist community, and we were thriving. All the businesses was being supported. People really, we could go in and out the city. It was so amazing. The city now is so dead to me. All that vibrancy, all that young energy, we were able to afford and they keep these buildings looking great until the landlords say, oh, well, you know what, it's time to make some money. And they push everybody, all the people who are working, and middle class just have to get out of there. And now the city is, it lacks luster. So I'm grateful that I was able to be there at that time to find my, to have some children, have a stable job, be able to move around in all these apartments and brownstones to where I became an owner and a successful businessman. And, I'm grateful that I'm still a successful businessman as a result of the New York life that afforded me the opportunity to be able to grow my life, grow myself, grow my family. And I feel sorry for a lot of people that's there now because they can't afford it. They just freaking can't. It's just too much. And they want to be in the New York life. So, for what it's worth, I think the city needs some kind of consideration to bring back some of that element, if possible. I don't know if Madani is the guy that's going to be able to do it, but I think it's a very powerful statement in terms of his win of what the matter is and what needs to be attended to, because it can't stay like that. It's just looks like it's going to be a big ghost town with a lot of rich people to me, and that's my comment.
Thank you very much. First class escort to the VIP. Thank you. Housekeeping issue to my mod squad. Guys, I've said it before. If you don't remember, it's okay. If you want to remove someone from the room for whatever reason, I very much appreciate in the mod squad chat. But just at the appropriate time, say it verbally. I'm not always checking. I believe it's Cora. I saw your recommendation in the mod squad chat. Answer is yes. Please go ahead, remove that person from the room. But in the future, just verbalize it at the appropriate time. It'll probably get things done faster, although that was probably pretty quick. Another housekeeping issue. We're coming down to the end, 13 minutes left. Don't invite anybody else up. Let's go to the candidate. And by the way, the candidate is a perfect example of how I am consistent and run the show. I've said it a gazillion times. I don't care if I like you. I don't care if I don't like you. I don't care if you agree with me or you disagree with me. As long as you're respectful, which the candidate is, he is more than welcome to come in the room and get his fresh vibe, which he already got. And now he gets his closing thought and burning desire. Candidate, would you like to say goodbye?
Thanks. I think all of us on this app, consistently repattern ourselves into this app and all these relationships and communications exchanges we have. And I just want to read, for 60 seconds, some quotations from
yes, and by the way, I've been consistent about this. Anybody is entitled to read for 60 seconds, and then if it takes more than that, you can read for 60 seconds.
Okay, if you're given a choice between money and sex appeal, take the money. As you get older, the money will become your sex appeal. Nothing is more difficult and therefore more precious than to be able to decide. It is easier to find men who will volunteer to die than to find those who are willing to endure pain with patience. Errors of haste are seldom committed singly. The first time a man always does too much, and precisely on that account he commits a second error, and then he does too little. It isn't enough to talk about peace, one must believe in it, and it isn't enough to believe in it, one must work at it. Humility is no substitute for good personnel. What I don't like about office Christmas parties is looking for a job the next day. That's Phyllis Diller. America is an enormous frosted cupcake in the middle of millions of starving people. A long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it a superficial appearance of being right, Thomas Paine. He that fights and runs away may turn and fight another day, but he that is in battle slain will never race to fight again. That's Tacitus. So, we have 30 to 60 seconds to exchange information with each other. And I, just like reading books, because if I am in charge of my communication management, I just want high value intelligence. And therefore, it becomes a book club. And that's my criticism of atheists, is that they're refusing to participate in a high-value information exchange using books in a book club. I would just encourage you all. I have a house here on Clubhouse called Book Club. I
I read books every single morning of the week for about an hour, usually sacred spiritual texts, which deal with the self, which is really personal development, and self-development, and self-analysis or self-actualization. I like to consider myself as a self-actualization comedian or self-actualization politician. And all I'm trying to say is that stillness, silence, peace, joy can be held and had by all, but you have to choose to create that sacred space for yourself of contentment through content. And this app is so full of neurotic thinking, compulsive thinking, never-ending thinking, that until you slow down and get into a quiet space, it is dialectic ASMR or neuro-linguistic programming. That's my point. No one can prove there's a God. No one can touch, taste, feel, or smell unless you think everything is an extension of the God. The all, this phone, this conversation, the coffee in my mouth. It's, there's a Yiddish expression, alles ist Gott. All is God. And so if, as an atheist, you deny that sentiment that all is God, I don't know what grounds you have to stand on. If you call yourself a moral superiority, moral superiority and social justice virtue signaling on a whole range of topics, but yet you deny the existence of everything because you say there is no God. So all I'm trying to say is meditation and books or poetry is a great way to experience your great journey. Thank you.
I'm going to follow that up. Normally I would drop you as anybody else to the audience, but I'm going to follow that up with a couple of questions. Have you ever heard me once say today or at any time since you've known me, which has been a couple of years on Clubhouse, that I am morally superior to anybody? Have you ever heard me say that once?
Addressing you specifically, I was talking
You addressed atheists. I'm an atheist. Have you? I assume that's a no, because I can tell you all, I have never once said I am morally superior to anybody. Now,
I'm pretty sure you're morally superior to me.
Well, other people have said that. I have not.
I know you, so I'm comfortable saying that.
Okay. Number two, since I've known you, I have blocked about 18 of your different accounts because I only want to deal with one candidate. When you say you want to have, I'm paraphrasing now, open, honest, intelligent discussions, I don't know how putting together at least 18 different profiles does that. And last but not least, I've heard you say since I've known you over 100 times that all, quote, all communication is hypnosis, close quote. Let me repeat that. Since I've known you, I've heard you say over 100 times, and I have the receipts, all communication is hypnosis, close quote. So here's my last question for you to answer intelligently, hopefully. If indeed all communication is hypnosis, are you using hypnosis to try and get people to vote for you?
I believe that all communication is hypnosis. I believe that I'm exchanging high information, high value information or intelligence with voters. Well, then hopefully they'll vote with me because they respect and appreciate my truthful intelligence that I'm trying to share with them. But Steve, I have 100 Clubhouse accounts because I record everything I do here and put it on multiple platforms, much to the dismay of many other users who end up getting recorded and resent the fact that I record myself or use my cell phones in the way that I choose to use my cell phones. It may be a little eccentric, but nonetheless, this is an art project that I have chosen to pursue. And all I can say is, Steve, you have created great content for me, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, and you run a professional room. But it's your show, and I respect that. And the thing is, what I said about the book club and about enlightenment or meditation, I'm just a broken record repeating myself on this app, as well as everyone else. We're just repeating a pattern. And that's all I really have to say, and I hope everybody has a great day.
First class escort to the VIP, quote, I'm just a broken record repeating myself, close quote. Those are the facts. I will let all of you decide Andrew is here. I don't think Andrew has spoken yet. Andrew, please unmute. Have you spoken yet?
No, I have
You know what? We're going to go OT. Andrew, I'm going to give you a fresh five, my friend and neighbor to the north. Good morning, Andrew. It's a pleasure to see you back on the show, everybody. We're going to go OT. Andrew, what would you like to talk about?
Well, I had a few things, but many of them have gone away. I just want to comment a little bit about some of the things that I've heard this morning. In regards to your shutdown, I really sympathize with the American people that are suffering. And I think maybe you might want to consider changing your form of government from the Republican format, which you have now, your founding fathers passed on to you, to more of the Westminster style parliamentary system that we have here in Canada and the United Kingdom. For one reason, and this is the reason, this kind of thing that you are experiencing in the United States does not happen here. It cannot happen here. Because and I'll give you an example, it's recent too. Justin Trudeau was our Prime Minister not more than 9 months ago. He hadn't passed a budget since spring of 2024, so we're talking 18 months. But the government continues on. Generally, we expect a budget in the spring. That didn't happen. We had an election. So then we expected maybe the Carney government would put out a budget. They didn't. They just did the other day. So we're talking 18 months. But things don't shut down. People aren't, losing programs, losing benefits. We're just waiting until a budget is passed. So that budget was tabled in the House of Commons. Now, the Liberal government, as we have now in Canada, is a minority government, which means they don't have enough seats by themselves to pass any legislation whatsoever. It has to go to the House of Commons and it's voted on. If they do not get that legislation passed, that's considered a non-confidence vote, and we would go to an election because the House has no confidence in the ruling or the party that has the most seats.
And I'm going to interrupt you very quickly. In your country, you vote for parties. You do not vote for individuals. Please continue.
Well, that's not quite true.
Oh, I thought it was. I apologize. I must be wrong. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you vote for parties too.
No, that's not true. In our general election, it doesn't matter what party we vote for. We vote for an individual.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have a constituency here, and there's 3, 4, 5, 6 candidates running. I vote for one of those candidates. If they're a conservative and I'm not a conservative, I'm not going to vote for the conservative candidate unless he's got some really, really strong local policies that are going to affect me here personally. But I mean, and those are political, calculations that people make every day during an election, who they're going to vote for. So no, we vote for an individual, and that party then, if he's a conservative, he takes that to the House of Commons and sits as a conservative with the rest of them. But so we don't shut down. Our government continues on. There's continuity, and then we just wait to see when the next election is going to be. So, as I said, we just had a budget that was tabled, and it slightly passed because I don't think anybody wants to do an election right now. We just had one, so there's a political calculation that people are making. In terms of non-banning, I think this is really, it's going to be a disrupting force, but I think it's probably a force for good because the affordability crisis, we have it here too. We have it in most places, I think, around the world. You look, at least in the Western world, there's an affordability crisis, and things are out of reach. They're not just like you got to work hard to get. They're out of reach for most people, especially the young. They don't. They're walking into a situation that their parents didn't and their grandparents didn't walk into. They had a chance. I think the chances are very, very slim now for most young people. And so what alternative do you have? This is a repudiation of unbridled capitalism with a 1% totally filthy rich and the rest of us struggling to scrape by. And as long as that continues, you're going to eventually
And I told this to my sister many, many, many years ago. I said, there's a revolution coming. I don't know when, I don't know how it'll be, but I think we're seeing some of that now. There's a revolution against this oligarchy, whatever you want to call it, where people have just such enormous sick wealth, and the rest of us are just struggling. And my final word is, I had a great experience last night, tremendously nervous. My football team was in the Western Final to go to the Grey Cup. They were down by 7 points with 63 seconds left, and with 14 seconds left, they scored a touchdown, taking them into the lead, and they are now going to the Grey Cup. So I'm very happy about that. I had to have a beer right after that, which was late, but that was okay. So thank you very much, Uncle Steve. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you on the Clubhouse streets. Oh, and the other thing, on Clubhouse, just curate your friends. If they're really bizarre and way up there, then, keep your distance.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I just say one thing to Andrew?
Yeah.
I think his criticisms of our form of government are really helpful. I think that without even going full Westminster parliamentary in nature, if we just got rid of the filibuster this week now, right? I mean, you wouldn't be able to hold things hostage like this. This is a simple procedural rule that we could get rid of, and that would go a long way to make the government better. But and you know what? I would take, as a Democrat, I would take a loss on this healthcare subsidy thing if we could get rid of the filibuster. Because long term, I think that would be for great government.
And before we move on, I'm on ChatGPT, and again, ChatGPT is not always 100% correct, but let me take 60 seconds to read to you what's on ChatGPT, so take it for what it's worth. Quote, in Canada, you do not vote directly for the Prime Minister. Here's how it works. Voters cast a ballot for a local candidate in their federal electoral district, and then it says, in parenthesis, writing, that candidate may represent a political party or may run as an independent. The party that wins the most seats in the House of Commons of Canada, often a majority of seats, then forms the government. The leader of that winning party is invited by the Governor General of Canada, the Crown's representative, to become Prime Minister. So in short, you vote for an individual candidate in your riding, but the decision about who becomes Prime Minister is indirectly based on which party gets the most seats, who leads that party. Again, I would never disagree with Andrew. Andrew comes on, he's a friend of the show, a neighbor to the north. He clearly knows a hell of a lot more about Canada and the politics than I do. I'm just repeating what ChatGPT says, so take it for what it's worth. Let's go to David. David, would you like to say goodbye?
Well, I just wanted to. While I was listening and hanging out, I was going through my New York Times Sunday edition today, and there was an advertisement taken out on page 16 by the general manager of strategic think tank in Amman, Jordan, a gentleman by the name of Azam Salim Damor, and he's calling out the White House for hosting the president of Syria tomorrow, where billions of dollars in rebuilding contracts are going to be probably entered into. He frames this gentleman as this new president that Trump, basically has embraced as being on par with Bin Laden.
Hopefully when he's in the White House, he doesn't pass out on the White House floor like that other person from the medical industry did a couple of days ago, but please continue.
Well, no, I'm pointing out this advertising because, we're attacking Mondani pretty severely, and yet, he's an American. He was schooled here. He's not been elected to arguably one of the most important cities in the world. And, we're creating common cause and giving, he was on the terrorist list as of July of this year. So anyway, I think if we can give this guy some grace and say, hey, we can help rebuild your nation, and you're not going to throw your guns on us or the state of Israel and our friends, I don't think Mandami rises to the level of what this guy was and what he represented as an enemy of us, and the terrorist role that he exacted running the show over there. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I don't know how that's the room or not as the room, but and then also recall the business dealings that Trump entered into with Qatar.
I'm gonna give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm right here. But yeah, so anyway, I'm just saying that we, just because one might have a certain religious persuasion does not necessarily mean that you're gonna, net out the stereotypes that oftentimes are assigned to you, or let's just see what happens. So I'll end there.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are rushed for time. Norm, I can give you 60 seconds tops if you want to say goodbye.
Very well. As with the previous speaker, anybody who doesn't know how much a subway ride costs is not a New Yorker. It's $2.90. And if you're handicapped or need money, you can go for half. That's $1.45. That's a pretty good deal. The idea of free anything, and the major components of this guy, Mamdani's campaign, were free stuff, namely free buses and free childcare, I think up to the age of 9. And I got a breaking news bulletin for you. The rents are not going to come down. The best he can do is slow the increase in rent or freeze the increase in rent of rent-stabilized apartments. Regular people don't get rent-stabilized apartments. Their precious commodity is 25% of the housing stock. New York has already started to become dirty, dangerous, and broken as it has been in the past. I've lived through it. I know how to survive under those circumstances. What happens is poor people die. That's what happens. Poor people, black and brown people, die and are burglarized because the law isn't enforced. Go look at some of the old movies like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Pelham 1, 2, 3, yes.
Or Fort Apache, the Bronx. People had 15 locks. I'm not exaggerating. 15 series of locks on their door, plus bars and stuff against the door, because people would just burst into their apartments and kill them, as happened to a friend of mine. Most people in New York had been victims of crime around the time when the other Democratic socialist who was trying to run the city and failed, David Dinkins, was mayor. So again, we're ready for it. Mamdani will become the best friend Trump ever had, because all they'll do is point at the man who ruins New York once again and laugh and double over, as all the Republicans will. He's now become a foil for the Republicans, sadly. And if that's what it takes to get New York back on track, then so be it. We'll put up for 4 years.
Thank you, Norm. Appreciate that. First class escort to the VIP. Again, I am rushing to get out of here. Mod Squad, normally we go to each of you individually, but does any of the Mod Squad have a closing thought or a burning desire? Because I am literally rushing to get out of here. If you feel like you have to say something, unmute. If not, I'm just going to go to Reverend Scott. Reverend, would you like to take 60 seconds?
What can I say? By the way,
How many souls?
I think we're on record today. 781 souls through the doors today, and just remarkable. I think it's been a great show, and we've had a great weekend. And thank you, Uncle Steve, for creating a space where the nieces and nephews and the mods can come together to share what's on our hearts and minds. It's awesome.
I humbly apologize to all of the mods. I'll say goodbye on their behalf. Violet, Daryl. Oh, by the way, Daryl, I know for a fact that Daryl is a New Yorker, minimum 15 years. I don't know if any of the prior comments were addressed to him, but Daryl, and by the way, Daryl, if you can get me like a 60-second soundbite when you meet with Mamdani, that would be amazing. Thank you, Daryl. But Alfonso, take 5, record 5-10 minutes of it, but if you can get 60 seconds, that'd be great. Cora, thank you all for doing the heavy lifting. Everybody in the audience, all of the nieces and nephews, thank you. We'll be back next Saturday with Ask Uncle Steve with Reverend Scott and the Mod Squad. Next Sunday with Ask the Atheist with Reverend Scott and the Mod Squad. Take care, everybody, and be careful on the clubhouse streets.
Bombadita, 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 just sing a song and think about sunny
Well, you have to, like, it became an obligation. Like, it's beyond unethical to say, I'm going to do harm to your body on the off chance that you might help another person.
America, yeah. I think the problem here, Mohan, is that what you're saying is true about America, but in practice, it's dead. America's become an ethnic tribal conflict zone.
I don't think it's dead, Homo. I just think we need to kick out 25 million people and have no one enter for like 20 years.
I agree with you, but like, seems to be no.
Okay, so someone like very attractive, and then they go to the bars a lot, and you know, like for a man, if they could get a lot of women, why would they say no? I thought that meant removal from the house.
I thought it meant removal from the house.
Yes, exactly.
I'm with Steve on the outside with you again. Okay.
Order. So you guys read it? If you guys read it, it does not say house anywhere there. So you can't assume that's what it is.
It doesn't say room either.
Okay, I will finish. I will finish what I have to say, and then I will go on. I'll even drop to the audience after I finish. My understanding is that it meant house. If that is true, then I'm not aware that he was ever kicked from the house. Therefore, she has to be found innocent if the rule means house. And with that, I'm going to remove myself to the bottom.
Thank you. Who's next?
Me. I know things fall apart. I know this is life, but I still feel shell-shocked by it. And I'm not capable of re-engineering it. That's the thing that's, I think, most disconcerting is like.
I don't think people have changed that much. I just think your perception of the country has changed. So it used to be that your vibe check for America would be going to your kid's school, like PTA meetings, and going to church and going to the local bar. And I bet you right now, if you went to your kid's PTA meeting, your church, and your bar, that it's still 80% America 30 years ago. But now what you think of as America is a YouTube video, or like Twitter, or like fucking, like it's just you've expanded the scope of opinions to give you a perception of what you think America is. I think we're really fucking close to going back to the way we used to be. It's just the bellwethers that we use to evaluate the country have gotten so much wider in scope that we think we've changed faster than we actually have.
There are Somalian tribal warfare conflicts influencing politics in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah, no, they all have to go. They all have to go. They're kind of going.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, no, I hear this sometimes where it's like, go outside, it's still the 90s, and it's like, but it's not, man. I live amongst heritage Americans mainly, who are doing well economically. And so for me, life is like pretty good on the day-to-day or whatever. But I don't care. I'm a middle-aged man. I could die tomorrow. I don't give a fuck about myself, to be honest with you. I care about my children and their future, and nothing in the country is trending in the correct direction. And so that's not like me being like, I don't know, Twitter fucked or something. All of the data is going horribly awry in real time in front of us, and the world we're going to leave in the future is going to be a fundamentally worse America.
I'm going to push back on one metric, which is I think the only way in which America seems to be turning around, which is on energy production. Like all this bullshit. Like we genuinely will be leaving our children a grid that's many multiple times stronger.
By the way, I feel good about us because we led that fight. We paved the way for it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel good about all the work we had to endure to fucking pave the way for the AI guys. I mean, can tech save America? It's like, I would like to think so. Because that's sort of my.
I
American dynamism saves America. I just think that it keeps allowing us to pull a rabbit out of the hat to unfuck catastrophe, and then we just live long enough to eventually unfuck the real problem. But the technology rabbit out of the hole just keeps the game going long enough to live, to live long enough to then fix the problem.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing I was saying before to you a while back was that I actually think that the debt is going to continue to grow exponentially, and that AI is going to make us all exponentially more economically productive. But they're both going to cancel out, and we're just still going to have the exact same standard of living because the $500 trillion debt will be sustained by everyone having 19 robots. And you'll still work. You'll have a zero quality of life increase.
I think that we need to. I don't know, man. I would like to believe you that, like, my vibe check is that everybody is an individuated American still, who believes in the meritocratic ideals. But I don't. I see a bunch of people engaged in, sort of in-group preference, like across the board, and now it's happening to white people. White people are doing it too.
We also have the cascade failure of we pay people to not work, and then they have all of the time that they need to influence politics because they don't have a job.
That's a problem.
That's just like a cascade failure.
People screech about the Irish, infecting this country or whatever, and it's like, bro, with what time? The Irish were either drunk or at the factory the whole time, their whole lives. Like, there was nothing else that they were doing, I mean, sure, Tammany Hall was corrupt, and the Irish played a big part in that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's all true, but, like, the Irish were just at work. They were just working in the factory. It was Upton Sinclair's the jungle.
I don't think that if you're a tax receiver rather than payer, you should not have the right to vote. It's just any way to fix this outside of that.
I think that's completely fair too, because that would actually get rid of a lot of billionaire characters. Like Donald Trump couldn't vote if that was the case, because he is not a net tax writer because he has a huge write-off from the 80s. So every year he takes a loss.
I haven't looked at George Soros's taxes in a while, but for like the past 20 years, he would get tax exemptions and then roll them over, and he would every administration he would get like a 10-year tax exemption, and then by the next time Democrats are in power, they would roll it over. And dude, if you gave me 50 years of taxes, I also would be a billionaire by the time I was
80. Isn't it much Soros hates humanity? What is going on, that guys?
The dude literally said when he was 70, the happiest year of his life was the year that he was a Nazi collaborator seizing Jewish lands for the Nazis. Not his first child, not his second child, not his grandchildren, not when he became a billionaire, not when the war ended or help. It was the year he was a Nazi collaborator seizing Jewish lands.
And he's Jewish, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was Christian, and he was 14 at the time, and he got a job as a bookkeeper for the Nazis as they were seizing land. And he said it was exhilarating, it was exciting, it was the happiest year of my life.
That's crazy. It's a crazy thing to say.
As you guys were talking about like the in-group biases and that preference, I was scrolling, and I saw how much of a shit show Canada's in by like all the Indians they took. Because the Indians they took are like, they have their own separatist movement. They want like another place in like India, Pakistan region called Khalistan. And they're all waving their own flags, and there's like, third world beefs there. But India does not want any of these fuckers back. So Canada has to now deal with all these fucking psycho-separatists thinking they can somehow get back to Asia and get...
You know what's going to happen, Vic, right? Is they're just going to walk the northern border and move to fucking Maine and Michigan.
Yeah.
And they're going to spot up America.
Well, and then at the same time, by the way, you have the young white guys have all decided that they're an identity group. And, they were like, that was supposed to be like baked in that the young white guys were going to believe in individual, sovereignty, and they don't anymore because of the frontises of the world.
And so like it's very hard for me to see a world in which we get back individualist meritocratic ideals, especially because like just follow the money here. Half of the fucking country is on the fucking government dole. You know, so this is no longer a place where it's like manifest destiny.
Remember when Mitt Romney, it was so funny because there's so many reasons to hate Mitt Romney, but nothing he said that he got canceled for was incorrect. Where he was like, 47% of Americans receive more in government payouts than they ever pay in taxes. You're never going to win your vote if you're trying to talk about increasing productivity.
No, exactly. This is the point, is that
that was 20 years ago. Like, can you imagine what that percentage must be now?
Everybody is now an ethnic bloc, okay, including white people, and you basically like vote for whoever supports your ethnic bloc, and if you don't get whatever you want, you chimp out. And that's how politics works. And again, this is like sign of the collapse of the empire, is that this is how empires always die, or nations die, is that people discover, democracies die, I should say. People discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury, and then the nation collapses under loose fiscal policy because there's simply not enough money to give every group whatever they want, whatever their demands are.
You're talking about France, right?
Well, this is happening in every country in the Western world. So there is no fallback country for Western people.
We're generally 2 steps behind America, but we're like 3 steps ahead.
There's no fallback country for non-Westerners because, you know, the places they come from are unstable. And then there's no fallback country for Westerners because the places that they come from are going through the same thing.
You know what's crazy to think about? When we lose free speech in America, do you know what that does to the internet? Because there's legally the only refuge for the concept of speech online being free is the shroud of the American legal system. And the moment that doesn't exist in America, there's literally going to be no such thing as free speech on the internet.
Once there's no free speech on the internet, by the way, it'll be pointless to even go on the internet. Yeah, why would you even want to go? It'll just be robots talking to each other, which it already is.
I'm just thinking about the scenario where you have to retreat from America, and if America loses free speech, like, how do you even engage in the internet with no free speech?
You know, America is the place where freedom makes its last stand. America is the Alamo of the world. But we need some help, you know, because we're not as strong as we were 75 years ago, post-war. We don't have the culture to uphold freedom anymore.
Have you been following the 4chan lawsuit that the British government was at?
What's going on with that?
So the British government, Ofcom, which is their like censorship regulator, they passed a law last year that said that any company that has people speak on it needs to be regulated by Ofcom. And then they went after Gab and they went after 4chan. And they told them that they have to shut down like people on their site, or they'll penalize them and then they'll throw them in jail. And they'll penalize them 10% of their gross profit or gross revenue. And so they did this like a month or 2 ago. But 4chan has no offices in the UK. Everything is based in America. And so now they're trying to force British law on an American company in America based on them not censoring people in America. And traditionally, the way it works is if you don't like a company, you IP block it to your country. But the UK is going one further, and they're saying, we're not going to IP block you, we're just going to prosecute you for not adhering to British law, even though you literally have no premise in the UK.
Well, I mean, if you're an American, what effect should that have on you? None, technically.
So one of my good friends is the lawyer who every single company that Ofcom has sued in America, he is taking them on pro bono and has been representing them. And dude, if you want, I'll send you some of his letters. They're the funniest, most base thing you've ever read.
It's like shit. Have you ever read the letter from the Pirate Bay to I think it was like EA or something, Sony, media conglomerates, and they were like, hey, fuckfaces, we're in Sweden. We don't care about your copyright laws. Like, it was like the greatest letter ever.
Yeah. But it's happening in real time now. The UK is trying to do a certain, but if you actually look into how Ofcom started doing that, it actually was Hillary Clinton who asked them to do it. Because back when the Russiagate stuff happened, she realized that you couldn't get free speech. The easiest way to destroy free speech in America was to try to get the UK to pass this law and then try to apply it to American companies.
Man, we got a lot of problems going on. A lot. But Bitcoin's up.
Hey, Trump's here. He's throwing no one in jail, and everything's going to be better now. Remember that whole massive pedophile ring that compromised thousands of people to run the government, and nothing happened? I'm really glad that Trump's here to keep making nothing happen.
By the way, Alvera in the chat wants to know if you're racist. Are you racist, Mom?
Racism is defined as a form of hatred to a group of people. Could you describe a race that I would consider people?
That was a lot. That said a lot. Yeah.
Who's the respond to the chat? If they want to talk to me, they can talk.
I'm in this position.
I didn't see anyone call me.
No, he was like, y'all racist. Such a broad question. Hey, are y'all racist? No, the answer is no. I find myself in this middle ground of like trying to hold the center of meritocratic individual ideals for a fucking nation and just getting completely blown the fuck out every day. Just getting destroyed every day. But just being a fucking retarded libertarian and just continuing to show up and be like, this is all I can do. This is who I am. I can't do anything different. You know?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I always hate a lot about some libertarians that become the like, hey, I call it the low hygiene libertarians. And when I say hygiene, I mean like psychological hygiene, right? Is they're just hyper permissive and they think everything is open and available. And it's like, no.
That's dumb.
Like everything can be private land, and I can tell you to get off my land. Like like you can have private communities, and the private community can say you're not allowed in this neighborhood. You're allowed in this neighborhood. You're not allowed in this neighborhood. You're allowed in this neighborhood, and they can do it on the basis that they want to do it in. And
it's kind of like this wokeified version of Christianity, which assumes that like in order to be Christian, you have to just be like
help every homeless person.
Well, not only that, but you have to like sit there and just let people kill you, essentially. You know, it's like that's the most Christian idea. It's like, nah, I'm good on that one.
But yeah, I just you can acknowledge that we have 22 million trespassers, and the only way you can fix the country. Like, how can you imagine you come home, your kids at a house party, and there are still random fucking 17-year-olds who are shit-faced in your house. And you're like, let me discipline my kids. But you're disciplining your kids and you haven't even finished kicking out the fucking random drunk 17-year-olds from aren't even from your neighborhood out of your house.
Totally. Well, the idea that America is just this, I mean, you know, I think America is going through this big identity crisis itself, which is like, are we a nation? Or are we an economic zone? Because if we're an economic zone, it completely changes everything. Because a lot of us still think of us as being a nation. You know?
I also think that we're a set of principles and ideas, and if A, you have to be useful to us, and B, if we know that you don't adhere those values or ideals, you should have no access to this country. I think John said completely convinced me. It didn't take much convincing because I was like 80% of the way there. But I think the only way you fix America is by repealing the Civil Rights Act. And then Alan drops off. He knows it's too much for a hot potato. Hey, Joseph, are you there? Oh, then Joseph drops off. Oh, God. Just leave me with this hot potato. sorry, did you say something, Jason?
I just laughed, but I was going to say that I know you said you're looking at it in like the civil their equivalent of the Civil Rights Act. It's like they're looking at that's the cornerstone.
The right to free association is an inherent right that has been trampled, and it was based on this idea that the government had to compel people to not engage in it because we needed to integrate it. We're fully integrated. Like it was a huge encroachment on our rights and for rights of association. I think its time has come. I think it needs to leave, and I think a lot of the things that need to get fixed once you can reaffirm that right again of free association.
Well, I agree with you quite a bit, and I think that this is actually that gets missed sometimes in Bitcoin when people talk about Bitcoin solely through the freedom of speech and private property, which is that economics is built upon association, and when you have economic distortions, the effect of that is to impede people's basically ability to get together, whether that's forming businesses in whatever way. And so people don't think about it that way, and that's pretty much what happens. So when people talk about, crony capitalism or whatever, really, if people have the freedom of association in business to just go and form their own business, then the whole aspect of labor wouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
Well, I just also think, like, you take the second and third order effects of the Civil Rights Act, and I just remember the way, like, to this day, or when I was like living, impacted me. I was a part of a number of fraternities, which because the fraternities were social and professional, which is to say it was a social prep, but we all made sure to get each other jobs when we graduated, that the Civil Rights Act in the 70s forced them to become integrated. And so it was a frat that had chicks in it because and it completely destroyed the name of the group, which was, hey, this is a way to teach young men how to be gentlemen, get us our first job out of college. And I think that a lot of the disparities in female versus male outcomes occurred not because there's obviously affirmative action for women, but it's that there were so many structures that were effectively social affirmative action for men, which was just like, hey, let me help you. Wow, that became criminal, and then nothing replaced them. And now there's just a shit ton of men who don't know how to become adults or get their first job because there just used to be all of these social clubs or gentlemen's clubs, not gentlemen's clubs like strip clubs, but like cigar clubs where you would go and be like, hey, how do I be a man,
Back to your point about the Civil Rights Acts or equivalents of thing, they were effective. I mean, I think you're right. Mission accomplished. And I think that would be a great way for a politician to put a flag in the ground and say, mission accomplished. That's why we need to get rid of it. We're integrated. We learned all the things we would have done.
I don't think there is. So there's only two ways that they will get fixed. One is the Supreme Court route. The Supreme Court without politics just being we're going to sunset this. The other is going to be you're going to need a probably racial reactionary influence retard to do the Donald Trump playbook. People think about Donald Trump now, and we kind of forget how much of a retard he was 8 or 9 years ago when he was like, I'm going to build the wall, Mexico's going to pay for it, I'm going to ban all Muslims from entering this country. And he did none of that, right? And I think we're going to need a Nick Fuentes style, I'm going to make interracial marriage illegal kind of guy to get this kind of thing passed. And I don't want to live in the world where that kind of person becomes president.
So you're describing somebody on this new policy that would be the opposite of the support of
what I'm trying to say is, hey, we did it. Let's stop. And I think that the pendulum's going to swing back to segregation, and it's going to be a segregationist movement that removes the Civil Rights Act in order to segregate.
I see. I get you.
then you come to the table and you look like the savior. It's the theory that because I just graduated from this. They talk about what's called a heroic manager, right? And there are these people that they come to the table with this thought process of you create a crisis, you manage the crisis, and then you look like the hero. And that's what the Trump administration does.
As I was thinking about visiting friends in the Bay Area, I think you said you're working in the airline industry there, Kitover Congressman. What kind of delays Oakland or SFO has?
Oakland right now hasn't taken any because it's a really small airport, so the delays aren't much. But right now SFO is really not in good shape at all. The delays right now are terrible. You might want to check with your local area, but there's been massive delays currently.
Yeah, Rez, I got a cruise day to LA. I've already gotten emails that my flight was delayed already.
Yeah. LA is really bad. It's one of the major airports that it's one of the 40 that was targeted on the list of major cities that was identified because LA has it's always had heavy traffic because it's one of the hard ones because it was one of the ones that was always been problems trying to have enough air traffic control in power. So unfortunately LA was one of those places. It was one of the target cities. So yeah, sorry.
Alright, real quick, I don't know if it's top ABC leader Trump January 6th speech. Got anything with that?
Wait, what? Say that again?
Top BBC leaders.
The CEO resigned, and I think the news director.
Wow. Okay. But with January 6th speech, why would they resign?
It was on a documentary. Which one? I know to watch it. That's why I said, I'm a documentary.
The headline again? I missed it.
You're trying to get in trouble. I'm not doing it. I am not.
I love your laugh. Personally,
Is it? I don't know what you're speaking. But I just wanted to let MAGA know that the magnet that you called for seems like a lot of them are.
Yeah. Bring them on. Come on, man. I want to hear.
I was trying to ping them in here so that they can come in and speak for themselves.
Your brethren? You was getting your brethren together. He was
he needed his backup.
Yeah.
I just don't think he needed to be to represent. I mean,
Omari was feeling his ass in the way, so he called for his right. He was asked to call. He was asked.
Your mama lied. When she did, she said she had a flight. That woman had been on an airplane. Y'all some people coming here a lot. The only time she got on an airplane when she was working with Cole, fixing the sand.
Y'all know I'm out in the field somewhere. Okay.
She had a colored section.
Out in the field.
She had a colored section. They got color section on airplanes now. Otherwise, she ain't there.
I didn't blame her. That's what you didn't know. I was cleaning the plane.
No, we knew he was a Cole.
He was cleaning the plane, your mama. Oh my God.
Can the MAGAs come up and explain Tuesday?
Y'all got the biggest racist MAGA up in here. Ooh, Lord.
Hey, I was just going to say,
there's no such thing as racist, MAGA.
at some point,
I guess we're done talking about
the Supreme Court, the tariffs within the Supreme Court. At some point, we should chat about that because what happens to the tariff credit if the tariffs are ruled unconstitutional? Is something we should talk about.
And you're gonna take that money back.
They ain't giving us a check back.
You can't unilaterally release these checks anyway without Congress. So what is going on?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand that line of thinking. They're ruling on the case right now, whether is it IEEPA or something like that? The IEEPA. if they rule that like unconstitutional or whatever the word is for it, what happens to the economic policy of the U.S.
I mean, we're fucked anyway, because all this is made up. He's not giving us TF checks. He's not giving us a Doge check. He's not giving us anything but a bigger check that we gotta somehow magically find to pay these motherfucking bills that's gonna be higher. They're retarded. And they're in their trailer parks mad as soon as they realize they were I'm so sick of this thing. Yeah, you do got mad. You got mad cool. You got mad Shame the devil. I'm not my brother's keeper. Oh, you got demonetized? Yeah, Amari has been on a slow but sure campaign. And I clocked it I want to say a week ago. And I was like, oh, Amari actually not that bad. I clocked it 2 weeks ago now. You late. He was demonetized 2 weeks ago.
I mean, I don't know. I've been demonetized for longer than that. Omari has like a soliloquy on Twitter of him saying that he's no longer part of the conservative party, even though he comes in here and defends the nail every single day. It's very strange to me, though, Omari.
He just playing contrarian. I think it's just for entertainment purposes. You know how people put that on TikTok when they're saying something that's misinformation? For entertainment purposes only. I think that's Omari. He's just being silly at this point. You know Mike P is the real MAGA, so Mike P, aren't you going to stay stir up your bald head, bitch?
No, Mike P is not MAGA either, trust me.
Mike P is MAGA to the third time. Stop it. That's not
I can't speak for himself because the crazy part
He's
about
sharing some things with me that show me that he's not.
the crazy part about the shutdown is that these MAGAs were saying that it's the Democrats' fault, and now that we're in a place where obviously it's not their fault, now it's both sides need to come to the table, even though we know who the real culprit is.
I'm upset about the fact. I just read a thing earlier because I wanted to put up. It's still there's I think but I guess it is what I get at this point. I know that they're still getting promised votes in the Senate on the ACA stuff in December because it doesn't mean Mike Johnson being that cool in the floor of the House. So it's just kind of like, what are we really getting in this? So I know that talks are still fluid, so I'm gonna wait to see what final language looks like, but I would be very upset if they are not able to vote on this.
But it suggests to me that the government will only be funded through when it's time to get that vote so that they can shut it down again, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But this time will be different because if they have at least one of the things they want.
Maybe that's what, I guess that's fine. I mean, I just need them, even if they get the vote through the Senate, when's Mike Johnson ever going to put it up? I mean, they're going to have to do some other kind of wheeling and dealing around something else potentially for him to give us a vote in the House. It's just silly.
I'm telling my husband to retire. I've been telling him to retire, but if they do this dumb thing till January, I get those papers now, even though June will make 20 years.
I chose them.
Just go ahead and get the fuck out. This is ridiculous. It's going down.
Good Samaritan in Matt D. No one cares if you're upset or not. Well, no one cares if you're alive or not. So, I mean, is this really a conversation? You're MAGA. So, y'all are the reason why I'm here. Do you feel happy people are starving, children are starving, and that even if we end the shutdown, that more children will be starving at 27 when the LBDB kicks in, and your SNAP benefits for tons and tons of people, millions of people are cut when you find out they've lost their Medicaid. I mean, and if the ACA doesn't happen, are you happy kids might die from this? You're a fucking piece of shit. Just like the rest of your disgusting kin that voted for this nasty orange monkey with the wig on. And I guess you're upset that I have a problem
that this is going to happen to people inevitably. You're a loser. You're not a good Samaritan. You a bad pussy ass nigga. Now stay in the door and shut the fuck up and keep my name out your mouth.
Man, I cannot wait until you cause you know my voice all day, every day, and twice on a Sunday. Hello, thank you. Period. You whatever. Hate on me, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you got my vote. Hey man, when you start your channel?
We gonna
What's
see.
that channel on?
I don't know why they're so afraid to come upstairs though. They want to stay in the basement. Like Drew.
That's because that's their origin. The origin of the basement, man. You already know. They've been basement bitches for how long?
Basement bitches, cave dwellers.
Period.
Sewage
trash. Hello? Okay, thank you. They can't talk real politics because none of them never been in those spaces ever. They always been the ones that been on 2K playing in their mama basement. They still talking trash from their mama basement, and that's where they gonna always be in their mama basement. They MAGA basement, mama basement, politic talking, trash talkers.
They sit in their mama's basement jacking off the Japanese anime porn. They're losing hands. You got pure blood in the chat, right? The quote unquote black American Indian, Perth Indian. With your ain't nothing black but about you but your feet, bitch. You need to stop pretending to be something that you're not. I know you're upset about it. You're never getting whatever reparations you think you're getting. Honey, you might be deported back to Africa before this is all over. I don't know what's going on. You think you're an American. You're not a bred American. You're not from here, bitch. You were taken and brought here. It's time to wake up and smell the fucking coffee. Put the feathers down and understand your place, right? Figure it out, bitch. Trying to say something about me, bitch. Don't mind give a fuck about your broke ass. You just like the other Dollar Tree worker that was up in here trying to talk shit. Your friend that cool? Yeah. Your butt broke buddy? And you're mad about it. And I know you know what butt breaking means. You are a plantation product, like the rest of us. So shut the fuck up. You don't come from no motherfucking tent, bitch. Figure your life out. Identity crisis happening, motherfucker.
And all y'all can do is be in the goo and throw insults in the chat. Y'all are weird.
They're just trying to read me. I didn't even read these bitches. They were trying to all read me in the chat together.
Yeah, because they're keyboard warriors. That's all they've ever been. They're the same keyboard warriors that be on X, the same keyboard warriors that be on Instagram, the same keyboard warriors that are boring, keyboard warriors that do nothing but be on keyboards. I'm told, y'all, please. Cry me a keyboard. Hello?
I have a question for him. I just have a quick question, Chris. So MAGA right now is really pissed off about the 50-year loan.
The mortgage.
Yeah. Are y'all with them on that one? Like thinking that's a bad idea? Because I'm trying to figure that out. Like what's wrong with giving options? You don't have to take it, but eventually you'll get equity.
50 years? I want you to think about what 50 years of your life is. Who is going to be around for 50 years to pay a mortgage payment? Does that make sense, Omari?
How old is the average somebody?
Right.
How old is the average somebody?
35 to 40.
Right, so think about that.
Years old. Unless you refinance, you're going to be paying that mortgage up?
Right. Now, and the average lifespan in the United States is 70 to 75. So make sense, Omari.
So what I'm thinking about is like, our family had the house in Altadena that burned down, right? So we had that house since the 60s.
It doesn't make sense. Oh my God.
Our grandparents and parents have had homes for more than 50 years.
We're not with a 50-year mortgage. What are you talking about? The grandparents didn't have a 50-year mortgage.
You're talking about home ownership,
and not the actual mortgage loan, bro.
Right. He's saying instead of passing down, a house to your children, so we have a mortgage economy that, like the fallacy that the economy is where you own. That is part of the economy. But for the most part, the reason why we're talking about 84-month car loans and 96-month car loans and 40 and 50-year home loans is for affordability, so that you can build some sort of equity, as opposed to no ownership because you can't afford the monthly payment.
How can you build equity in 50 years?
What are you talking about?
Yo, what's unlocked, bro? Yeah, explain the benefit. You were trying to go into like car talk for a second, Trent. That's why.
It's the same thing. Like,
is it?
There was a time when the thought of a 36-month loan for a car was
Car depreciates in value. Why are you paying off a loan? Why would you be paying off a loan for 96 months when the car itself won't be worth that in 96? What is the point of doing that? Do you not know what you work in cars? Don't you build them, make them, get them, create them, pick up them? Where the fuck do you do something in cars? What is going on, Frank?
Let me tell you how. Do you want to tell me how it works?
I do, because I already did it. You don't know what you're talking about.
Please don't tell me.
Well, look. I don't think I would personally take on a 50-year mortgage, just like I wouldn't take on a 96-month car loan. But right now, I actually have a 72-month car loan right now. I don't think it's a bad thing if depending on the interest rate, always depends on the interest rate, depends on the principal payment. While the average trading car price right now is at an all-time high.
It's the same thing. Oh my, I can't do this. These are the same thing. You're comparing a 50-year mortgage loan to an 8-year car loan. Are not aligned. Like, what are you doing, dude?
You could trade your car in. You're not trading your house in. What are you? That's so super fucking weird.
Yes, I can. As we know. Go ahead. Get behind that emptiness lies a truth far darker.
That's all it is. It's nonsense, but I think we're all playing the game. It's strong enough businesses actually to shareholders, and typically the job of the CEO is to increase profits. And how do you do that over the years? That's enough for the consumer. Extending loans, etc. Yeah, does it hurt people? Absolutely. Like, I've never seen a Hyundai $65,000. And it's okay on record. So that's why loans are longer terms, have mortgages, have longer terms. Because you need more capital to purchase these items. And how are we going to break it up? Well, that came up with a great idea yet. It all sucks. It sucks for you, sucks for me, get a loan, and get ready to pay for it literally for the rest of your life and for all of your children.
Well, you're forgetting the American way, right? I mean, thank you for, you on point. Well, the man said affordability, that's the key. That's the name of the game. That's why from the mortgage game, that's my wheelhouse right there for sure. For many years, we had 5 location business in Chicago. So bottom line is, when you're talking about mortgages, it's about affordability. We used to have, the 20-year mortgage, and then the 15-year mortgage was really the big deal. Then the 30-year mortgage came out. They said that would never work. Then we got 40-year mortgages, right? So it's all about affordability, and we're a credit society. We live and die by the credit. This whole country, $38 trillion now. I mean, let's face it. How many people paid off a car? Paid it off in full, free and clear. I mean, you don't get a chance to do that, but when you pass it on and it's in your will, it's in your that you trust, you have ways of jumping down and once you get in it, ownership is really the key, right?
I paid off 3 cars. Let's not do that. That is so much
That's cool. That's cool. That's good. That's good. I know. This is fine. It's my neighbor. That's it.
Especially if they're appreciative.
Exactly. Cars are depreciating assets, number one. And if you paid it off in cash, that's the worst investment you could possibly make because you lost a lot of money if you didn't invest that money. Okay. Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Up on a farm, you plan on intended property.
Well, you can leverage that. It's just like a house right now. If you buy a property, and that property, even though you go into massive debt, if you are bringing in more revenue than you're paying out, your net positive cash flow, you're doing good.
Let's stop telling these people's lies. And one thing ownership is you want to have ownership, but you don't want to have to actually own anything. You want control of everything. So that's horrible finance 101 too. So if you're telling people to have these items and things, if anything, I would say lease the car. You're not going anywhere. So you're doing most of your business in your town.
You got more control. You got more control with it. The leasing it. You got the contract.
Affordable. That's the point.
That's true. That's a good point. Good point. We agree on that. We agree on that.
Requiring people to work more jobs. You used to be able to work 1 40-hour job and have a family. It didn't be one person working. Now you need two. Now you need 2 plus a 5 hustle business. It's all about affordable. None of this is affordable. It's all about design. How much consumerism are you going to be a part of? The shopping center is going to be like. I don't care.
People come. Listen. People come from all over the world to do business in America. We still have one of the best leverage. Yeah, come on. Right.
Depending on where they're coming from, depending on where they're buying the home, and depending on what they're buying the home at, and let's say, and I'm just throwing a number out there, so don't kick my ass. Okay. They're coming into Atlanta, Georgia. They're buying a home. It's a $300,000 home. They're putting 20% down, which is $60,000 now. Have to finance this home at 50 years.
No, it's 40.
Okay. In order for them to afford the home, you're telling them that they now are going. It's going to now take them until they're 80 years old to let me for my fucking God.
You guys are getting that wrong though. It's not 30, it's 40.
Oh my God. Please
listen, the average home buyer now is 40 years old.
Oh my God. Please allow me to finish.
All right, let's finish down with the breaking news. Go ahead.
Please.
Thank you. Well, go ahead and do the breaking news.
No, it's all talk. Go ahead and do the breaking news. It's all talk.
Somebody's in the chat talking about my Calvin Klein remix t-shirt on. Oh my God.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Sports news. Sorry, that was killing me. Do it. Pitchers just got indicted by the feds.
Oh, we don't give a fuck. That was not good breaking news.
Gotcha. It kind of is. It actually is, Rich, because it's actually a big problem the way people sports betting. But if you think going back and forth with a man doesn't know anything, who said you can pass on your card note to your children, it's better waste of some of your time.
I said house note, man. Don't misquote me. I said the property.
Does it have anything to do with the Costa Nostra family? Is that like?
It's not breaking news. We'll do it.
It's not breaking news.
As Ray says, a thing that is destroying young men, destroying families, people sports betting, taking their retirements out. That doesn't matter what is important. It's not about a 50-year mortgage, which will never happen. Y'all will be that.
It is important because when we are talking, but we started talking about it because at the end of the day, it is important because if the possibility of somebody talking about us possibly going into this 50-year mortgage, or we talked about the fact that there was time where we didn't have 40-year mortgages or 30-year mortgages, but it did happen, and and now we're possibly talking about 50-year mortgages. That is scary, and we do need to talk about it.
What's the difference between that and what's been going on? Most people, let's be honest, don't pay off their homes. That's not true. Most people will not pay off their homes. And then you have people that go actually get into reverse mortgages because they can't.
Get into reverse mortgages because of scheming and lying in this country.
Can I finish? I want you to get the concept. There's no difference in somebody saying, okay, your mortgage terms are now 50 years, and now you can afford to have this mortgage, and you're only paying $1,000 versus paying $3,000. They didn't do nothing but extend the terms of the loan and probably tack on some interest, hoping you get a fixed rate. There's no difference in what's been going on in the country when you've had a 30-year mortgage. Get your 30-year mortgage, you rip out 20%, usually that's retirement money, unless your parents set you up or you have a nice estate. Most people rip out their retirements to pay for the down payment on their house. Now they're broke, retirement broke. Now you have a house. You have a new house you need to keep repairs on for the next 30 years to keep it up, any improvements, etc. And you rip that money out of either HELOCs or retirement. So now you're still broke. You put all your money into the house. And trust me, because I get the calls all the time. These people say, I worked over my life 20, 30, 40, 50 years now for my house, and now you're too broke to keep the taxes up because you've retired with no money because you ripped it all out into your house.
Oh, and that's why you go cash flats. That's right. You're right.
So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that this applies to everybody, but there is cyclical and the numbers are very high.
I'm not
saying this adverse process, and most people are not even paying their houses off with 30-year mortgages. They actually need an extension to have the extra capital to pour into that house. So yes, if your loan extension is 50 years and you're paying maybe $1,000 versus you were paying $3,000-4,000 a month for your mortgage, I'm not sure how that math calculates, but hypothetically you can make more repairs on your house and do more crap with the house, and hopefully the value will stay up, or you just end up upside down. And so, in short, there's really no difference.
Yeah, but I am.
Also, let me ask. So the people can't afford. Go ahead, Rez. I know you.
But she was asking me. I've had 2 houses paid off, but that's another conversation. I'm not going there with that. And there's several people in my family that have houses and do have homes paid off, but that's a different conversation. I'm not getting into the nuances of that. I'm saying to you at the end of the day that it's about how you buy your homes and what you do and how you do it. Again, I'm not getting into all that because my situation is different. It's very nuanced, and I'm not going to go down that slippery slope of that conversation. Again, here we go with the smart ass comments. I'm not doing that. Again, I'm not doing that. What I'm going to say, what I am going to say is that I do know people, and I do know people who have had their homes and have done well as far as the market is concerned, and know how to manage their money properly, who have done pretty well when it comes to managing their homes and their mortgages. And it's all about how you manage your money and do the right thing. Again, the market, we do know this, that back in 2008, we had a problem with the market. The market had to correct itself. And we learned a big problem from that. We are now removed from that. So at some point, we got to take some understanding that the market had to correct itself. A lot of people who should not have been in the home buying market literally got loans that were jacked up, and we have seen the residuals from that. But previous to that, we didn't have that issue. But people were paying their homes off. Let's not pretend like we didn't have people who had homes, who had 20 and 30-year mortgages, and didn't pay those homes off, and didn't pass those homes off from generation to generation, because they did. And I think that's a disingenuous conversation. They were paying their homes off. So that's a very disingenuous conversation, and we gotta stop this shit. The market tanked because people got greedy at some point and started doing dumb shit.
I helped them make the money. We put $2.3 billion into the marketplace during that run up, right? And I was part of the 08 crisis, so it took my business out. That was the biggest crash you've ever seen. It took me 3 years to unwind. We did $16 million in our final year in business. It took me 3 years to unwind the damn thing, though. It was so at the top, the Ponzi scheme was so large and so big, it was a devastating blow and a devastating process. I mean, some people are still digging out, haven't recovered from the 08 crisis yet, right? Because that kind of thing goes on. There was a time when we paid those homes off, and that was a good old days. We need to get back to that. And the Black community was the leader of, because we couldn't get our loans, we couldn't get loans from the banks, so we had our own economy going. And that's what we have to get back to right now. We were just talking about that in one of our meetings not too long ago, a few days ago, because that is the key. When people panicking with this government being shut down, but when we think about it, yeah, we're losing a lot of jobs, but when we get back to the basics of what we used to do back in the civil rights movement, we had less jobs then. The government gave us those jobs because we fought for them. But before that, we were doing just fine. And guess what? We held up the whole company, Cadillac. Cadillac sold the cars because the black folks were buying the Cadillacs. That's where the riches came from. Cash, mattress money. When the banks crashed, everybody lost their money, but black folks were up at that particular part because we couldn't get into the banking system where we had a lot of our money buried on our land and things we paid for, things we owned. So that was really a part of the process. And now we're in the credit system. Now we got to learn how to work the credit system and use cash flow, guys. So generating cash flow is the key to give you that edge. You buy it for affordability, sure, you leverage it, but you make the cars work. You got Turo, you got co-living, you have veterans housing and special needs housing. You can make that house pay for itself 10 times over. Right now, did you know you can get a house, a 4-bedroom house, and rent it out to sober living people and get almost $800 or $800 to $1,000 per person? That's almost $7,000 a month. Your mortgage is not going to pay that. I don't care what that
Please, God, come on.
Yeah, I gotta take it. Okay, he's done.
So here we start selling us a corpse.
I'm done. No. That's it.
He's right on with that Calvin Klein V-neck on.
None of this is relevant to the
I like my V-necks now. Leave me alone.
None of this is relevant to the conversation that was previously about 50-year mortgage, right? So housing is supply constraint. Any more demand to a supply constrained market without addressing supply constraint is going to skyrocket the prices. Moreover, this is not really a good environment when you have stable inflation and interest rates, which is going to make those people even more vulnerable to interest rate fluctuations. It's going to skyrocket the prices, which is going to erase any affordability arguments whatsoever, right? And it's going to make housing even more expensive for everybody else, not only those people.
No, I mean, no. Look, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, if the interest rate, this is like the misnomer. If the interest rate is similar on a 50-year term as it is to a 30-year one, it'll likely be higher. But if you're getting a similar interest rate, it allows more young people, because the average interest into the market of home ownership is now 40 years old. It allows more.
Why would the interest rate be similar? Why do you make an argument based off something you know that won't be true? You just literally said, one second. I want you to hear yourself. If the interest rates are similar, they won't be. But if they were, I'm going to get my point. We know they won't be similar.
Okay.
If the Raiders had a good quarterback and a good team, they won the NFC West. They don't. So why are we talking about the Raiders? Come on, bro. Like, keep the combo moving.
No, so we are keeping the combo. The interest rate, people don't recognize this a lot. Now, I gotta go back to autos because it's.
You don't recognize, please, Americans don't recognize interest rates are high.
No,
is this your special insight, bro?
Why you let this Chinese food on?
He wants to talk about cars. Keep them on track. I don't want to talk about cars, but they're actually the same thing. Banks are actually.
Okay. You know, Sanga's food, Trent. What's wrong with that? What's going on?
I got a Zanga. That's one of my favorites.
Can you give a comment based off the fact that interest rates will not be the same? One second.
No. The interest
rate. 1 second, Trent. Let me ask the question.
Let
me ask the question, because you just like, Can you respond based off the fact we know interest rates won't be the same and it will also increase home prices? Answer that question.
I do think I will agree with you, liberal. It would probably increase home prices because it's going to increase the amount of people that are able to purchase a home. However, if the interest rate is like a point higher, I don't know what the interest rate will be on 50-year. But if we're talking a point and a half higher, then I would say you might want to consider a 40-year mortgage, a 40-year loan. Just like if you're talking about, and just let me land this Maggie, so a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people will not they'll lock themselves into a 60-month loan because that's like what is in their head. When the interest rate on the 72-month or the 75-month is the exact same. And a lot of people, like George was talking about, need a cushion, right? If you can make the payment on a 72-month loan, okay, or you can make let me do numbers on this. If the payment on a 60-month loan is $600 bucks a month at 1.9%, and the payment is $550, right, or $525, a 72-month loan, but the interest rate is also 1.9%. Just take the 72 months. You can still get the $600 payment. You're going to pay it off the same amount of time, but like Drew's saying, you're managing the credit just in case something happens. You got that $75 cushion per month should you need.
Okay, a couple of things. Comparing 72-month car loan to depreciating asset with a 50-year mortgage is absolutely asinine.
Exactly.
I mean, it's utterly. You just got to finish. How come Trent got to finish? I just started. But let me finish one. Everybody knows who owns a home that interest is front-loaded. You won't even begin to start making a debt on the principal for years.
Unless, my brother, there are ways you can do that. Yeah, go ahead, please. I'm just wondering.
You know what? Is this true? You said that black people were doing fine during the Great Depression. My God. Well, I'm almost done. Why should we listen? Because they had cash in the mattress. My great-grandpappy, your grandpappy's a great-grandpappy's something else when they're young. There were tenant farmers in Alabama and in the South where most black people lived. We're doing fine in the 1930s when black poverty rates were over 70%. Why should we listen to anything you're about to say?
My cabinet, okay, let me answer that question very briefly, okay, because what I said was their power shined at that time because they were the only ones with cash. So
by being lynched and kept out of the public accommodation. Black people they had 2 gold coins and a lucky feather from their Indian grandmama in the mattress.
That was going to happen anyway, right? But what they were doing, because we were already under that gun, brother. But what happened was we finally got recognized in our own way, and that's why they.
Who recognized black people in the 1930s?
But guess what though? A lot of people, because we had towns, we had our own economy. Brother.
Who recognized black people in the 1930s?
Look at the history of those towns that were.
That's what I'm asking you. They bombed the town.
Okay. So listen.
They bombed the town.
You're talking to a black activist. First of all,
I don't care if I'm talking to the black Johnny Neutron. Tell me.
Okay.
1 second here. Tell me what you want, Dr. Trigger. Tell me what power black people had during the Great Depression.
Well, first of all, you have to know that we had black senators back in 1895.
No more black senators. Hold on, bro. The black senators had been gone by that point. By 1895.
Well, that's when they got ran out. Just before that. So you can
over 1930.
Okay, got it. Going forward, I'm just telling you the progress. So when we think about the 1930s, we didn't just lose that. That was taken from us. We had gained power right after the Civil War and right after the Emancipation. During that whole time frame, we began the Reconstruction. Now we began to gain power, and then we lost it. The fights came on, and then we gained power again at a certain period of time. Then we had the big raids, the 1919 Red Summer of 1919, the 1619 project way back before that. Okay, of course that.
1619.
project? That was 5 years ago.
No. The 1619 project was the attack on black folks, is what I'm trying to say. The bottom line is we have these points where we rise up and then we get knocked down, right? So 1930s, even though we were 19, no, I'm not giving the dates. Give me time. Let me bring it home for you, because in that time frame was when everybody else was suffering. Because of our suffrage, we already knew what to do, and we had resources we could get, and we were the only ones in town with cash. We were the only ones that people had leaned on, even white folks. Good white folks were borrowing money for people who were holding the family up. We didn't just work in houses and in labor departments. We had other means that we were used to that gave us a certain endurance and resilience, where we were able to get some respect. And then they came and took it away again.
Like what?
Well, I'm not denying what happened. I don't get me wrong. I'm not.
What it's like you said they worked in labor departments. Were they delivering babies? What are you talking about?
No, the Department of Labor. I mean the Department, the economy. They were laborers in the economy, right?
Yeah,
in the houses.
Like what?
Porters, service people, and we had our own farms. We had things that we were doing too in the economy that were working effectively. Now, don't make me a historian, because that's not my wheelhouse. Well, I do know the facts of the economy. When you look at the economic factors of that, those are things that we do. Homeownership has been a problem.
Let me give you facts. Black unemployment in the Great Depression soared to 50% compared to 31% for whites. Right?
Okay, go ahead.
Black Americans were first to be laid off. Right? Wages for Black Americans average at least 30% lower than those of white workers. Right? Deepening economic inequality. This is a complete myth. All economic depressions, sadly, in the United States, hurt first and foremost black people the most, especially Great Depression. But Great Depression sadly is not an exception. It's like a rule, right? The same happened during Great Financial Crisis in 2008. It was a compensation. But again, give me one economic metric.
Before he does that, Drew, I just want to say, if you would have said, I'm not even going to be smart about this. If you would have said, I like how black folks was a family and community, you might would have got some agreement with that. But bro,
shout out to the black man with the baby.
Y'all appreciate it. Drew, you have no sense of history of knowing like the actual facts of what really happened, bro. And that's where you fell in this whole argument. I ain't gonna go ahead. So wait, when you said I like how black folks was a family in the community, you got hand claps and people probably would have gave you some money. But everything else after that, bro, that shit going down here. Okay, got it. And I can understand why you're saying that. I'm not saying the battle wasn't a fierce battle, and what we did for economic parity and equality, we've been fighting that. We're fighting that battle now. The income gap is wider than ever, but we still have an ally. It is.
The income gap is not wider than ever.
I'm sorry, the wealth gap and the income inequality, both two different things, right?
I know that. That's why I said it's not the wealth gap.
The wealth gap. Okay, we got it. You corrected me on the language. My bad. I'll use the proper terms. But the wealth gap and the income inequality is worse than ever right now, right?
Income inequality is not worse than ever across the races. Are you familiar with Are you familiar with the period that you're talking about?
Oh no. I'm talking about now, my brother. The income inequality is the gap. The wealth gap and income inequality is a big deal right now. It's spread. It hasn't gotten any better.
Than ever. You mean the income? So the income gap now is worse than it was in 1810.
Let me get those facts for you. I'll be right back. Okay. Let me get back to you on that.
Drew, see, listen, this is what he does, right? He tries to jump in
TC, we're having fun. Just chill, bro. Nobody's doing anything. Just talk, bro. TC, just
We're having a fun time.
You're not.
TC, come on, bro.
You're right.
You can center yourself in the mirror. You can center yourself in the mirror.
Imagine going to school at Liberty University.
So this is what they do. They do the humiliation thing. You're not wrong. You're right. But since they want to humiliate you and they do the pile on, this makes it seem like they're right and you're wrong, and you can't get your words out.
He feels traumatized by you.
Income inequality.
And you don't have to run from your positions.
Income inequality.
I do like clarity, though. I do like clarity. And sometimes people have points, man. I'm good with it. I want to be right. I want to be right.
Hold on a second, TC. Hold on a second, TC. Hold on, TC. Were you here when he said that black people, because they kept their money in their mattresses in the 1930s, weren't hit, were better off than white people in the Great Depression? Were you here for that?
Let the man get his words out.
Were you here for that?
The peanut gallery and the humiliation is a rhetorical.
I never said it better then. I never said it better.
Yes, you did. You said they had it.
Did I misspoke? Did I misspoke?
You literally said they
Allow me to retract. Allow me to retract that. Allow me to correct you. I misspoke.
Go back down. This is what they do.
He wasn't even here.
You wasn't telling the other guy that when he was telling Drew that he shouldn't have stopped.
Oh, you, bro. That's gonna have the power. People been crying in this group. You always trying to save somebody, bro. Damn.
What are you say to me? Go open your own room. Everybody knows that. You're talking about blacks in the Great Depression because they have money in the couch was going fine. Stop.
Well, he didn't say he misspoke, so respect for
Yes, he can take it back now.
Yeah.
Damn, we got Mercy in here. Okay, cool. That's good.
You go back to your mortgage. You talking about same time?
Well,
fucking life.
Here's what I
It's
just said.
real cowardly. Why don't you guys do a one-on-one? Why do you guys always do a one-on-one?
I can handle it though, brother. It's good.
We were doing a one-on-one, and you got involved. We were doing a one-on-one.
So listen. No, I will stand on this, guys. Okay. Here's what the real deal is, right? The Genius Act, right? Okay. The Clarity Act, all right, and the Anti-CBDC Act, okay, all passed in the month of July this year, right, by the administration. And I want you guys to do some research on that because I'm an AI specialist right now. I'm telling you right now, with the crypto and the decentralized finance, where these dollars we're talking about right now, this 50-year mortgage, all this will matter not in a few moments here because it's all going to be washed into something different. And I want you guys to be aware. Just do your research. Don't base on what I'm saying. Just make sure your dollars and the money you're earning on your jobs have some place to go, and it matters somewhere, and you're in the right spaces, and you got your hands into where they're moving the economy. The way hold on. It's 38 trillion, right? So it's 50-year mortgage. You know, major debt.
Let you land. Go ahead. Like, is he even talking about the same thing?
In the line of fairness, we're asking for fairness. Let this be a fair one-on-one without the peanut.
Shut up.
Move Drew down. Please don't touch anyone. That's First Lady and Patty only. Mods, don't touch anybody.
He's not in the room, bro. Honestly,
He wasn't dropped. He left.
he wasn't dropped.
He swiped out.
The app's been lagging, so he might have come back in. So you got to do that sometimes.
Let's don't assume that the mods have done anything with the glitches that Clubhouse has going on, respectfully to us.
Yeah, I see Drew in the room.
Yeah, I think he swiped out.
He was okay, with good reason.
I'm in the room, goddammit. Come for me.
Nobody was
I'm
talking
picking
about
somebody your own size. I'm like that. Because he knows he can't do one-on-one. He has to do the humiliation thing on everybody.
Move him down.
Do a one-on-one. Let's go. Any topic you want.
I wasn't involved in the 50-year mortgage. I was trying to break the news on the baseball thing. What do you mean I'm trying to humiliate? I wasn't even talking. I only brought something about what he said about the Great Depression where black people put money in that match.
He wasn't even in the room for that.
I know he wasn't in the room. Black unemployment was like 50% during the Great Depression. They were not doing better because they had money in the match in the 1930s. I don't even know he talked it.
That's not what he said. He didn't say that.
He said it before he got here.
All right, if he said it before he got here, when I came on stage, you know what I heard?
I heard, yes,
income inequality is the greatest that it's ever been. You say,
no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not.
Back to the 1800s.
It's not.
And then you guys piled on him.
Yo, you got to
support his argument. So you guys are doing that humiliation shit. Let the man get his words out. Stop robbing him and stop mimicking him. You shut up. Who the fuck are you? You talking to me, goddamn it. You shut up.
You eat on the mic, you eat a bitch. Shut up, bitch.
I don't know how y'all tolerate him all the time. It's just annoying, yo.
It is. Fucking stupid.
Can y'all move off of the mortgage topic? It's really just annoying at this point. Like, can you talk about the gambling scandal or whatever? Can you just move on?
Red said that wasn't important. So we'll talk about it.
You can talk about it, Mac. I was just joking.
You got 3 houses paid off. Do you think?
Oh my God! Do you have to be so?
That's true. You do have 3 houses, but I think that might be the first non-billionaire thing non-billionaire person I know.
Are you hating?
No, I love that.
Because it's not like you fucking hating on it.
Oh, come on now. I don't need that.
I kind of Riz doesn't have 3 houses paid off until she shows us. No, I'm bullshit. I'm bullshit, Riz. I'm bullshit, Riz. What's up with you, little lady? I love that. Just stay ready. You was not doing that when I was in. What's up with you, mama?
Henry County, Georgia.
See?
Cobb County, Georgia.
You asked for 2C. You asked for
in both counties. Yeah, both counties. In my fucking name. What we talking about? You can look them bitches up. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, ask for the MAGA. I ping the hell out of them and then y'all kick them. What's going on?
He got out of here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but as soon as that Vinny starts talking,
shit up. It's crazy.
As soon as
Like freedom, I don't have to prove shit.
He's been here for 30 seconds. Omari, relax.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see how he gets.
I mean, one lesson.
Man, Cindy's been on punishment lately. He can't really talk. Man, Cindy, how you feel about the tariffs, though? See? No, not yet. I'm just curious what you think about them, because if they do make a decision that they're unconstitutional, what's going to happen to that credit? But yeah, I'm just curious. None of the MAGAs are too cowardly to come on stage, so that's what
I'm hoping that the Supreme Court allows the tariffs to keep going, because I think if Trump has his way with the tariffs, I think it'll the American people benefit.
Even if it's not constitutional, but he's already had his way with the tariffs. He's already done what more can he do besides get us in
but it takes time. It takes time for things to actually take effect. 1 and 2.
But you guys said that
you have to what are we in November?
Yeah, we are in November.
I think
the month we're in the month of November, and I think we had a surplus in June and a surplus in October. I don't know what that means as far as.
I think a lot is yet to be seen. I mean, we've also been told since the beginning that there was going to be huge inflation. Everybody's prices were going to go way through the sky. It ain't materialized either. So
it has materialized. It's still a grocery store.
It has materialized.
Yeah, this is the thing the conservatives keep doing. They keep acting like, oh, we need more time to tell, we need more data. But like we're in a place where we have the data. Are we positive? Is this a net positive for the country? Like
Right now,
you
I'm sorry. I've always been taught that progress is not a straight line. Sometimes you take 10 steps back, take 30 steps forward. And you can't take a linear approach and measure.
$2,000 measure. That's what you're concerned about?
I say you can't measure progress in a straight line.
So your progress is a $2,000 stimulus check. That's what your progress is.
I didn't get a $2,000. What are you talking about?
That's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about.
That's what I'm asking about because
Thank you.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the $2,000. Is it a stimulus? He said it's a rebate check from the tariffs. That's what he said.
That's what it is. It's socialist. That's a political move to get a lot of people voted, to get a lot of voters behind it because it means $2,000. Here's the problem with if that ever were to happen as a political. Here's the problem with the stimulus. I mean, I supported tariffs originally. I have to admit right now that tariffs are not going well. The problem with the postulation is the only reason I came in here, Matt, and others, is good to see you. The problem with what he tweeted this morning, right, is if you take out everybody, we're going to call high income earners, everybody under over 100,000, not about the tariffs. That's what he's talking about when he's talking about the stimulus stuff. He's talking about it coming from the tariff money. So yes, it is about the tariffs. The problem with what he's postulating is if you take out high income earners, like he said, that's everybody over 100,000. So that leaves approximately 140 million people available to get a $2,000 check. That is $280 billion. The tariffs to date have only generated $120 billion. So right there, you got an offset of a little over about $150 billion. That's actually going to increase inflation, increase the debt. Not to mention,
is that true though? Or aren't you just talking about revenue? You're not. That's not like $120 billion that's usable for the American people. You're just talking about the surplus from October. I don't know if what you're saying is correct.
Well, okay. Well, if you take roughly what they say as the money being generated from tariffs, it's about $120 billion. You can look it up. We can dispute it. I don't know. That's fine. If you can find another number, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
The surplus from October is what I'm saying. I don't know what the way you're framing it is correct, but
it's fine. You tell me how much.
I don't know. I'm asking you. Is that the number that you're talking?
I'm telling you that the tariff number that they put out that has been generated is $120 billion. If we have a different number, that's fine. It doesn't really matter to me because the basis of this argument is socialism. The fact that you're excluding 15% of the highest income earners, who, by the way, are the people who generated a lot of this tariff income. So you're going to exclude people that make over 100,000, which is going to piss a lot of people off. Maybe you're going to make budgets on 150,000, but okay, still socialism, which is taking money away from the highest earning and giving it down to others, right? That's a problem. And the second problem is it is going to increase inflation, okay? And I don't think it pays for itself. If you think tariffs have generated more than $280 billion, you have a different figure, it'd be great. That'd be good because there's other analysts already saying that those numbers don't compute. That's my problem with this entire thing.
You know, Trent, I think some of the math defining what socialism is. Like you're kind of just throwing that word and you're not really like you should pull up the definition of what socialism is. What you're talking about is completely different.
I know what socialism is.
Trent, you just described just our regular taxation system.
But before you get into the weeds about this, I think Trent might
actually, and I have to look at the data, might probably somewhere in there have the numbers on his side. But none of that shit matters, right? I'm gonna tell you why. Because all this is, Trent, is one, it'll never happen. And two, Donald is attempting to buy votes. That's it, that's all. There's a period at the end of that sentence. Donald's trying to buy votes. He'll say whatever that anybody will possibly believe in order to affect that. But that's all that's going on. That's because he has his guys, I apologize. I dropped out for a minute. My battery went dead. My bad. I didn't watch my power base. But I wanted to finish up on something before I go, and that was my cue to stop talking and get to work. I'll get some, while I walk my dogs and do some other stuff. But listen, and thanks for that, Rob, because that was right on point. You're right. Buying votes. That's why he forced, even though Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats passed the bill, the money for the stimulus checks, he put his name on those checks. That money was approved before he even got it off, before he even got where he needed to go. He signed that. He made sure his name was on that check. So he's trying to buy votes now, and that's all that is, right? And he got some success and so much windfall from that. Especially in this election, people are still talking about the check they got from Trump. So anyway, my point though, what I want to say is this, right? I'm going to talk to the moderators in this room. I think this is a fantastic room. We got a lot of bright people in this room. I love the energy, and we are our own solution. At the end of the day, the acts I gave you guys was all about the new financial system, the great financial reset. It's in motion. His kids are running crypto type operations right now. They're driving the laws to shift how the money's moving, because we're not paying that 38 trillion back. That's not going to happen. We're going to shift and keep control of the economy worldwide on the global scale, and that's through crypto and decentralized finance. That's where the money's going. One of the things, you guys, I want you to know, I'm a money guy. I sold money. I sell money for a living. That's what I do. So I follow the money, and the money is right now. Go ahead. No. It's the truth. Absolutely. So the bottom line is that we need to be in position and have this cash flow. And I believe, and this is why I'm make sure all you guys are invited. There's no charge for it. It's a summit. I'm going to get to the. We can buy your course for a small. There's no course. There's no sale.
No, you don't advertise it. Sorry, no.
No, I'm not advertising. I mean, there's an invitation.
The point is crazy. You got it. The mods say no. It's a no.
The mods say no? Okay, got it.
It's a no from the mods.
No problem.
Thank you.
It's a no. Done. No, it's good.
That was a crazy plug.
I do want to ask Drew, how do you feel about your finances and with this current administration?
Well, my finances in this current administration, I think that it's there's a lot of opportunity here. At the same time, where there's a lot of devastation, it's a transfer of wealth. There's a lot of transfer going on. A lot of changes are happening, and if you don't know where the money's going, then you're gonna feel what's going to happen to the dollar. If you look at the change of the dollar, the value of the dollar over time, the dollar's down, and it's been going down for a long. It's not that something happened all of a sudden. It's been going down for a long time, and other people around the world are understanding that, and that's why you see China all in Africa, owning everything, having their hands and everything, and on the continent of Africa. Africa's not a country; it's a continent. All the countries over there in Africa are moving that, and the money shifting. You got the BRICS going on. We know about that, right? Everybody's intelligent. You know what BRICS. So that's a whole process, and BRICS is changing the dynamic. And China's fighting for the economic hot seat, and we're in this AI war we're in right now. This economy is changing, and we have to shift with it. It's a big change, not a little change. It's a mammoth change. And the people at the top, the billionaire class, what things we're seeing, things we never heard of before are happening, and we have to shift for follow the money. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it with government contracting, I'm doing it with crypto and DeFi, and we're doing it with real estate. So that's it. Tokenization of real world assets. Look it up. You guys do your own research.
Lying again. What school you went to?
That's right. Yeah, don't go there. University of Maryland. Don't go there. You went to the University of Maryland and you told me like this? So like what? Yes. It was like Apple. Like it's just it's like a chat GPT answers response. Oh no. Who was that saying? Who said it? That's crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. It wouldn't be there. You would be saying that. You said you were an AI specialist and that's why you knew about crypto. Like you just No. AI is what I do. That's for me. That's for you. AI is not. No, I never said that. You don't do that.
More finance. Can you tell me any type of, I'll make it even better. If you can mention in history a currency that wasn't regulated by the government that was successful, can you tell me about a time like that?
Before that, can you tell me what's the difference between
I'm gonna say before that. What's going on?
Let's see if I'm here lying.
Hold on. Leo Liberal said before you answer the black lady question, answer the white man's question first. What's going on here?
Can you answer both questions, Amari?
Oh, Maury, come on.
Listen, I don't mind being wrong or telling me that I made a mistake, I'm in error, but I never really lie. I don't deliberately lie. I don't do that. So, I will be inaccurate. Sure, no problem. I mean, if I'm wrong and you can prove me wrong and you got some more data that's better, I'll give it up all day long. But I'll work on empirical data. I get paid to be right, be accurate at least anyway. So forget right. Accuracy. So there's a thing that.
But you're not paid to be an AI specialist.
Well, no. Actually, my friend, you're wrong. I just got a $5,000 client just the other day. I do get paid. So
that's your side hustle.
No. It's a direct hustle because I put AI in all my businesses. I'm paid to go in and integrate business. That's what I transfer to, and that's what I do now. Right. So I'm just sharing. It's a lot there, right? But I'm just sharing with you what my goal is.
Who did you vote for in 2024?
What?
Who did you vote for in the presidential race?
Well, I may get lambasted, but I voted for Kamala Harris. Okay, period. That's what I did. So I and everybody else will understand. All right, good. I'll be there.
I'm here to troll, Amari. So, you ask your question again? Like, I wanted to hear that.
Yeah. So I will say this. I'm gonna say this right quick, and I want to make sure. Don't worry about what I'm doing. If you want to reach out to me, anybody that DMs me, I'm gonna make sure you get plugged in this information. Because information with action, we're not. Okay. No. I'm not pulling anybody. I'm just saying.
If people are interested in you, they can click on your face and go to your bio and figure it all out.
I love how you
Infomercial hour is not.
No. Okay, but stop. Let me close to this. No infomercial.
It's already closed.
No.
You're closed, sir. You're closed.
Who is that?
You are closed to business. You're closed. It's April. It's April. That's who it is. You're closed to business.
I got you. So listen.
No, listen here. Listen.
You're closed. Okay, no plug. Okay, it's done. No, none of that. Just don't finish the week. The work's asking. No plug.
Drew, I'll just say this. You sound like a moderately intelligent person, but you are going off into like trying to promote yourself, and that these people on the stage don't like that. I think some of the people are completely intelligent. But hang on, let's go back to the topic. Because
let me lay out this, brother. So I'm gonna get out of your hair. Let me finish what I'm saying. I'm thank you for that, brother. I think you're intelligent too. There's a lot of these other people here. That's why I'm here and spending my time in this because you guys are super. I mean, really, it's really great. A great room, a great house. So I'm just giving you respect to whatever they want to do, however people want to do, the moderators want to do, I'm going to do it that way. That's it. It's simple. I should ask for permission before I even said anything about that, but here's what I want to say. And the general subject matter, I want you guys to investigate for yourselves. So when you find out I'm accurate, you'll come back and we can do some business. And I need you. I need the people in this room
For the love
to
of
buy.
Jesus. Okay.
No.
All right, it's enough. Drew, I swear to God.
So the subject, all right, we got.
I'll leave you on the stage if you quit. If you keep it up, I can't.
What did I do?
I can't
Okay,
go
let's
strong.
do it. All right, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. We got leadership. I'm expecting leadership. I go on mic. I'm going inside. Thank you guys.
Okay, so back what I was saying. Look, Infinity left and Magda left, who actually want to have this conversation before.
Yeah, we talked over Infinity. That's why he left.
Yeah,
I asked him the question. He tried to answer it.
But he doesn't have an answer for this. Infinity runs.
He didn't let him speak, dude.
Didn't let Infinity speak? I listened to Infinity drone on for hours. What I'm trying to tell you.
He didn't speak when I asked him the question.
Okay, well, fine. What I'm saying is, I run the numbers, and if you go look at the Twitter folks, and even I got Republicans texting me talking about what the fuck is this? What is this giving a stimulus check for $2,000? We just lambasted Biden for doing the same thing during COVID. It's only inflation is going up in certain respects, and so there are people financially inclined and voted for Trump on this is an extremely populist and MAGA all day. If you go look at Twitter, it's saying socialist all over the place. This is to me, I don't have another word for it. It's a very socialist construct and giving a $2,000 check. And I'm not even saying that people don't need it and that we shouldn't have it, but to essentially tax the American people and then give it back to them in the form of a stimulus check, it's like the very definition of socialism. I don't understand why you would tax people, tax us as consumer, run it through the government, and then hand us back $2,000 with still a looming deficit, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it's a good idea. There's people on the right and the left that are both thinking that this is a bad idea. I'd love to hear each other.
Because again, Donald is trying to buy votes. Of course it's idiotic because he's fucking idiotic. There's no concept or thought process behind this except for I want to buy votes because this shit worked last time.
This shit's been a bad idea. Not just right now.
Up with the TV commercial break. Hello, everybody, and happy motherfucking Sunday. Welcome to Politically Correct. We've been hearing a lot of discussions across the board. I know. Okay, never mind. Back to you. Hey, government. Love you.
Who voted for this stimulus check? My mom, or is anybody saying that this is good?
I don't know anybody saying it's good. Poor people. That's some bullshit.
This is not going to happen. He's not going to pay anybody in America $2,000 for anything. It's not going to happen. I don't think he's even paying the contractors who tore down the East Wing has ever been paid. Trump told y'all about Doge checks. He told you some other kind. Y'all stop. He's not going to pay anybody anything.
No, actually, the plan was instead of paying the insurance companies, give it back to the people, but then only give the people $2,000, which makes no sense.
Exactly. So, but if anyone gets the $2,000, you're not taking them, y'all sending the money back.
Yeah. Let me not say underline. Because I'm already right. Because if high-income earners are defined by individuals making over $250,000, suddenly I'm gonna change my tune moving forward. I ain't gonna lie to you.
But who you giving the money back to? Because you can't even cut a check back, so that doesn't even make sense.
You can't cut a stimulus check.
Right.
You can't get the money back to the treasury.
You can write a check back if you want to, but it just doesn't make sense.
I ain't getting the check back. I'm fucking telling you now. Income earners are over two people making over $250,000.
Right, you have to qualify for the check. Right.
This is too much.
That's how dumb this is. They can't even have a serious conversation.
Right.
That's how dumb.
It's stupid.
Now, look, I think it's actually a dumb idea, but I'm not returning no $2,000 check. And nor is anybody else.
Nobody's gonna return the check if it was to be given, but y'all ain't gonna get no damn $2,000 check. So y'all gotta stop the shit.
I could get the arcade. I could get the arcade for my man cave. I could definitely get the arcades. So
when he says the check coming, the man tends to do what he says he's going to do. When he says that there's going to be a $2,000 check, and especially how it's blown up on social media now, I think there's probably a check
There
coming.
is no check coming, Trent. What in the name of God is wrong with you today?
So April said there's no check coming. So
Listen,
April will check come.
Amari, I don't need your help. I really don't. I don't need your help. I can talk for myself. If there's not going to be a check, I'm tired of repeating myself. Donald Trump is not paying y'all anything. Congress is not in session. These motherfuckers